YouTubers?
Oh snap! Are we live? We are live.
A little late.
A little late, yeah, but we here.
You know what I mean?
Everybody, welcome. It is already July 6th, and this is another special episode of UnQuantized podcast.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah,
There we go. That's the right one. We have a special guest in the studio today. We have the great, legendary. You've seen him as the head preset manager for Ableton, 12-year Ableton sound design vet.
Did your teleprompter go down?
Yeah, my teleprompter's always down.
The next award.
Anyway, damn him. This is Houston Singletary. Everybody give it up for him, man.
What's up? I'm here, man.
Yes, sir.
I'm super. I'm really excited to be here. I'm in the lair.
In the
Yes.
Unquantized podcast lair.
He's in a new layer.
That's right.
I'm trying to get both of y'all in there.
Oh, I can move over.
Yeah. Slide on in. I took a shower, so we good.
Yep. It's all good.
So if you came to the live event that we had on the 23rd, you would have bumped into this gentleman here, man. And honestly, I've known you for how long? Maybe 5, 6 years now?
4 or 5 years.
4 or 5 years. This is my guy. He's the first person I met at Ableton. And outside of the Ableton stuff, this is really my guy. So, man, it's my life Sherpa, too.
Hey.
Yes, sir.
Sherpa, I like that.
Sherpa,
All right.
man. Up the mountain of life.
Okay, it's gonna be my. We'll name a whole series of presets with Sherpa in it.
Nice.
Shout out to you, man, at the live show, man. You was killing it, man. I enjoyed all the advice you was giving. You was giving the gems, man.
You put a different vibe to it.
I like to share it, man. Knowledge is
Jim
king.
Carrey.
That was a great event. It had a great panel, so it was also kind of comfortable to slide in with those guys too.
Oh, yeah.
So you had a good panel. So, but great questions, great vibe. It was nice.
Shout out
Look
to
forward to the next one.
Busy Works
Dope.
Beats in here.
I think we're stuck over here, so never mind that. Because I'm moving and I don't see myself moving.
Oh, no.
That's all good. Yeah, we're frozen.
See Young Simba in here. Shout out to Fly for No Reason. Big Los lives. What's going on,
What
man?
up, Big Los?
Cheers, man.
ERB.
Cheers, brother.
Salute.
Cheers.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You know what I mean? All that good stuff.
Drinking out of these fine glasses from Justified Music. Thanks again, man.
Hey, we got Sending Keys on the YouTube. Black Noise. DM Productions. What up?
What's happening?
Shout out to the YouTube. You know, Busy Works. I don't know which side Busy on.
Busy Works.
everywhere.
Busy is,
I
yeah.
think I
Busy
saw
is
ER on there somewhere.
Yeah, he's probably on there.
Circuit. What up, man?
What's happening?
Let's see. Who else is in here? Classic. Shout out to you on Classic. Been to every one of our events.
That's true. He was in LA, he was in New York, and he came to this one. Shout out to Classic.
ER Beats was good. Do you work with Timbaland every day? Some guy you don't know. That's his name.
No. Nah. No.
Some guy you don't know. The answer's no.
No. Guy, I don't know. Oh, wait, before we get to the other questions, as usual, guys, tell us something that you're proud of this week, too. If you accomplished something cool this week you just want the community to know, feel free to post it, and we'll shout you out.
Hey. Yeah, I'm trying to think what I'm proud of. What did I accomplish this week?
You got stuff done this week, man.
Yeah, it was one of those days like I was productive. Like it's not fun stuff.
Yeah. But knocking out the to-do list is still, that's still an accomplishment.
Like I folded clothes. I was proud of that. You know what I mean?
Did you do them like the slick way that they do on YouTube?
Yeah, with the little cardboard. You go, bah, 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 bah,
Yeah. No, I'm not that good.
It's like fancy.
Yeah, that's super fancy.
It's called too much YouTube.
I'm gonna see if I can watch my live feed on my phone. I probably can't.
Big Lo says Busy Works is watching the showcast on Tumblr somehow. That's how he rolls. I can believe that.
Yo, he is crazy. Hold on, let me steal this real quick. I'm gonna try this one more time.
Go do your thing.
Try this one more time. Bam, bam. Bigelow, come on. No dice. That's all right. We'll leave it.
This would be I guess technically could be the post 4th of July holiday.
Yeah, it is post
podcast.
Post 4th of July show, man. Happy 4th of July to everybody.
Yeah, I hope it was safe for everybody.
Speaking
Blow some
of-
shit up.
Speaking of 4th of July, 4th of July sales going on
Hey.
on the producerkit.com and soundoracle.net.
Ooh, AirPlay, can I connect?
Yeah, it's not good.
That's not good.
So we were talking earlier today. I was saying fireworks are like magic. It's cool to watch somebody else do it, but once you start doing it, it's not fun. Because you're on the ground and you're lighting shit, and everybody else is looking up, enjoying themselves.
Well, I think there's an age thing too. I think when you reach the age of 12, it's sort of time to give it up.
Yeah.
Because it was a whole different thing. Remember, you have all your fireworks, and that was it.
I know a lot of 30-year-olds out here.
Yeah, now it's different because now people get all into the street, blowing bombs up, straight up. Tons of cars, people at the party.
I was so mad because my daughter was asleep and they was setting off. I'm over here like, hey, you guys.
Your dogs and your pets and your kids.
Oh, they go crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was like a war zone in Atlanta.
What I say?
I don't know what you heard, but like around 10 o'clock in Atlanta, it was like constant rumbling, crazy shit.
Well, I'll tell you what, I quickly learned the new area that I'm in. It sounded like damn Beirut outside.
Yeah. I went out and recorded it. I was like, I'm going to sound design this shit.
Oh, hell yeah.
Oh, that's going to be crazy.
So it was just like, that's what it was like, though. It was like, it has to be what it's like in a war zone. You just become immune to it.
It sounded like a war zone minus the sounds of a mariachi band about a block down. For some reason, there was a mariachi band. There was so in half of my sound design that I got, there's some mariachi band.
You recorded too, right?
Oh hell yeah!
See, you got out there with the record. It's like you hear stuff like that. I'm like, I gotta set this up.
Yeah, shit, Olay, let's go.
Slow it down, record it, slow it down, drop it an octave.
Man, that's a fact.
Or if you got Young XO2 out.
That's right. I put out XO2 last Friday. It is the sequel to the most successful kit from SoundOracle.net, which was XO. XO2, I think it might be taking that title.
Damn,
yeah. It's been going crazy.
XO's been going.
XO2.
Yeah. It's going to be a cruel summer, too. I got something else coming next week, and something else coming a couple weeks after that.
Dang, man. We just hit them like that.
You got to give them the heat in the summertime, man.
Cassette drums. Oh, I'm about to get some cassette drums on sidewalk sale.
Hey, definitely. Get it. Now's the best time to get them. Sidewalk sale, though.
Beats Music, what's going on? He says, how's everybody doing? Hope everybody's being blessed.
Definitely. What's happening, brother?
Appreciate it. I think we might be still sipping on that Jameson.
Oh, yeah. We still drinking your Jameson, bro.
I think that's what we're drinking
so
right
we
now.
have the Beats Music Jameson inside of the Justified Music decanter. Yeah, look it up, decanter. I think we're doing good.
It's not just the decanter, though. Let's bring this into the frame.
Look at that.
It's also got the whole stand.
That's nice, yeah.
So it feels like a thing in like Indiana Jones where you gotta swap it out for like a bag of rocks and then start running.
Right.
Yeah. That's what it feels like every time you pouring it up.
Not a bag of rocks, Joe Rogan. But yeah, I don't know.
That's right, the old bag of rocks.
I don't think we fancy enough for a decanter.
Boulder and shit.
I feel nervous every time I'm pouring a drink. I'm like, oh, it's too much equipment.
He definitely tried to take up some red cups.
This is definitely not studio.
Yeah.
I'm gonna sit this down on the console.
What are you sipping on?
Jameson.
Hey, ginger ale.
And ginger ale. Because you got to cut it with something.
Yeah. A little ginger ale for your Jameson.
Friday afternoon, Jameson.
Yeah. So, do we have any questions? Because if we don't, I have a rant? Small rant. You know I always got rants.
You got a rant already?
Yeah.
I thought it was a good week.
Rants are usually second half things, but...
Well, let's go on your rant, but while we're doing that, I say, if y'all have questions for Houston about Ableton, I feel
Ableton, beats, drums,
sound design.
I would even say Instagram. I feel like
he does finesse on Instagram.
You're a good visual producer. You know what I mean. You put out a lot of content as far as you making beats, drumming, creating stuff. I feel like you can share some knowledge on that.
Just Houston.Singletary if anybody's on now wants to flip over. Can you even do that while you're watching this podcast? Or does it go away?
No, I don't think so.
Because Instagram shuts down.
Yeah, you got to be busy workspace.
So you got to get that laptop happening.
Yeah, bring out
the laptop. Yeah, so my Instagram, I've been on there for a while, but my whole thing is like, it's all just sort of stream of consciousness, spur of the moment, but it's always centered around making beats, finger drumming, playing keys, because I'm a piano player, so push, I use a native control, complete 61, so I'm always like messing around with something, but it's all different.
Right.
There's never one or two things, so I like to keep it that way.
Dope.
Until I decide to really try to launch something.
So I got a question for you. When you do your Instagram videos, do you already have like the camera set up just to hit record on when you want to, or do you set it up?
I have the boom set up, so the apparatus is there in the room. I basically work off a telescopic boom. It's actually used for a piano, grand piano. So that's ready, and then I'll just stick the GoPro or my phone in there, depending. So yeah, so it's pretty much ready.
Telescopic boom.
808 on the beat says, what do you think about Timbaland and Swiss dropping albums at the same time?
Dope. I'm not gonna lie, I did not know that was happening.
I think I just seen the post.
Yeah, I knew about one, but not the other.
Yeah,
I think it's dope. Oh.
I mean, I want the beat battle still.
It's not gonna happen.
Yeah, that's all I care about.
Did you see that?
Man, it's like Kiss, man, when they put all the albums out together and you just choose.
Yeah, they did the battle, but it wasn't a battle. It was like they were playing hits back and forth.
Saw that, but so the plan is to release same day hype thing. So.
I guess it's a Kanye 50 Cent kind of thing. You remember they did that back in the day?
Who do you think's gonna sell more? Wait, who do you think's gonna stream more?
I don't know. To be honest,
I already know.
How do I say this?
A lot can be said about hype.
Neither one of them are known for selling a lot of records. So I don't know what you know what I'm saying? I don't look for Tim or Swiss about selling records. I look at them for crazy beats and hyping up records and,
Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna ask. I'm not gonna ask you. I'm gonna ask the crowd. Who do you think is gonna have the better album? Between the better beats on the album between
Gene
Swiss
or
and Tim. Right.
See, Swiss just got an advantage, bro.
It's the hype.
It's the hype, man.
More
Swiss gonna yell on everything.
Yeah.
And it's gonna be crazy.
But you already know. I'm Team Timbo all the way.
Right.
So yeah, Swiss is the homie though.
Yeah, see,
Tim will have that kind of guerrilla thing in the studio, footage, handheld camera, shots.
Yep.
And Swiss be on, out on the Hudson. Boat party.
In the Wraith.
Release.
Of course, Orion says, please send me free Ableton 10 upgrade. No.
Get out of here.
What is that upgrade these days? It's something like, if you're a Live 9 user, I'm with the sound design team, so pardon me, I'm not with the sales team, but I think it's like $299 is an upgrade, if I'm not mistaken.
That's not bad.
Look, guys, anything, invest in your dog.
Yeah.
And that's if there's any takeaway, it's like invest in your crap and invest in your dog. That's what you're using.
Yeah.
It's sort of like your input controller, whether it's machine or push or complete control or innovation or whatever. If your controller costs $300-400,
yeah,
that was a wise, so
Superbacks. So no free seats for you. Sorry. I know nothing about music, but go see Uncle Drew and Superfly. Great movies.
I'll go see one of those. I'll go see Superfly because my dog got a song on the soundtrack. Hey, give it up.
Nice. Shout out to young Diego Ave, co-produced that.
Facts. Uncle Drew though, I'm not hyped to see that movie.
Yeah. Kind of seen it.
It looks
in a way,
It looks like Space Jam with real people.
But I mean, we've watched the incarnation of it.
Oh yeah.
If you have, it's sort of you kind of already get it.
Exactly.
2 years ago when they started it or whatever, which was great.
Yeah, they hyped it up too much too.
So
once I start seeing the movie,
that vibe, like
if the movie hasn't come out and I start seeing it in like Taco Bell commercials and all that stuff, those movies usually aren't that good.
Yeah, lots of slow motion walking shots. And
yeah.
Don Pro says, when using the MPC, how do you set up your swing?
Usually, no pun intended, I unquantize. I record unquantized and then I'll quantize 50%. I never use a manual like swing on. I don't like the way it sounds. Yeah. Like if I was doing like 4-on-the-floor like some house, it would be perfect. But for me, it's just my natural thing, and then just quantize it down to where it sounds half of me and half regular.
So, when you're working a 16th, you're 50%. What percent are you generally?
Like a 50, 52 sometimes.
Because I'm like 65.
Yeah.
So I know that's nerd now, but it's like very real. Like people have a way to. I generally work on Quantized too, for drums.
Yeah.
And then I'll get in there and it's I have a preference at 65.
Well, I'll 50% and then I'll 50% from the 50%, and I'll keep going in little by little. I'll probably end up at about, honestly, like a 75 or 80.
When that's MPC, so it varies. Pulse per quarter note and all that kind of stuff. What's your input machine?
I use push.
So push and lie. So we're on the same page. So it's it's interesting.
50%.
I think when I was MPC back in the day, I had a 1 and a 2. In 2000, I want to say it was something like half.
Yeah.
Probably 50, 60.
Well, you know
this made sense.
The MPs are set to 51.
Right.
Which
that Roger Lynn.
Yeah. They're automatically set to 51.
That's why I had that.
It's the Roger Lynn legacy, man. That's what the original. The original.
Because I would always
Linda.
even sequencing, I would feel like it's a little difference between MPC, but I couldn't figure out what it is. That makes sense. It's a little groove to it, a little more. Because when I use Ableton, I'm not Ableton Logic. It was so like I didn't like it. It was so rigid. Yeah,
it's pulse per quarter, though, man. It's what the original MP. That's what made Roger Lynn coded that in, and whenever it was 1990 when that thing came out.
Wow.
And they kept that all the way up to the 2000 XL when the company shifted. And they lost the licensing or Roger's name, but that resolution is what that is. That's why you feel it.
That PPQ.
It's a special kind of thing, man. The MPC.
They didn't do it in the 4. I thought they did it in the 4.
They brought it back. They faked it in the Renaissance, and then they lay low, and then it came back in the 4K.
They definitely faked it in
and
the
now
Renaissance.
It's
because they had it as a setting in the Renaissance. Where you could change
I just remember that was my
PPQ.
first workstation. I had an Atari 1040. But the day I walked out with that $5,000 MPC City was one of the greatest days of my life, man. 1992, I bought an MPC.
$5,000.
The original was $4,800 at Rhythm City in Atlanta, and I bought that thing, and it changed my whole.
And which one was that?
The original MPC. I still have it. I still have it in the case, in an anvil case, in the gear locker.
Damn.
Little vinyl front panel and the.
I can't. First of all, I'm not gonna
wheels all worn out.
I'm not gonna let you act like you didn't say anvil case and gear locker. These are two things that normal people don't have.
That's back in the day. It was when like making beats is like an investment. You know what I mean? It wasn't like you could just like download Fruity Loops and try it out, or get Ableton and try it out.
Yeah.
It's like if you really want to be in it, you had to invest for good equipment and good like sequencers.
Oh yeah, you
it was a lot. Yeah, and you had to stick with it.
You had to pay.
I mean, everyone was using it. I just moved to Atlanta. It was either SB 1200 or MPC.
Right.
Dallas and Jermaine and and I was all these sessions, and I was like, I gotta have that. You gotta have it. Damn. And it was like, whoa, $4,800.
Ooh, that's crazy.
So yeah, Google the original MPC. That was the same look, same pop-up screen, but it's the original OG from like 1990. Crazy.
That's crazy. Chris Cash Music says, "Is there a Push 3 coming?"
Oh, I'm the Ableton guy. No, Live Tim came out in February. I mean, different things being worked on, but nothing concrete or definitive.
Basically, crickets on that one.
Facts.
Yeah, you don't have a little crickets thing?
Damn, we need crickets.
But no, I appreciate that. I appreciate the question. It's, development-wise, hardware-wise, in Push 3, there's nothing that I'm aware of.
Big Low says, can Houston give some secret gems that could be helpful for new users for Ableton?
Sure. So, two ways to look at this. One, if you're more of a laptop-centric producer, kind of in there moving around and working with tracks, or if you're actually using something to input those tracks with. But I think the most important thing, if you're new, the first thing to realize is that you have a linear view. It's always there. So you hit that tab key, so you've got that left-right view. A lot of times, since the live defaults to that session view, it's a little bit discerning when you first open it. And again, this is based around the question of being a new user. So hammer out the tutorials on YouTube. Every tutorial you can possibly get and watch go all the way back through the years too, like launching clips in live, recording audio in live, and basically what's going to happen. There's two ways. The two things that I offer the most important advice is watch every video that you can. And everybody kind of gets that. It's like, yeah, we're in that era. But sit down. If you have someone that you're close to, co-producer, someone in the studio, your friend, best friend, whatever, that uses live, be next to that person as much as possible. And in a couple of days, a couple of sessions, that light bulb, I call it the light bulb moment, it's going to go off because it's all about what, and Triz, you can relate to this, it's all about clip properties. Once you get an idea of what can happen inside that clip, and all the flexibility you have, everything else comes into play, and then you become in what I call the us club. You're in that Ableton club. You're suddenly in that excited sort of like, I'm down with Ableton, but it's a little frustrating because it's one of the more difficult programs to learn, but once you get it, it's the most fun program.
Right.
But it's like, all I can say is without going down this rabbit hole of an answer or long-winded answer, try to get with someone who uses it, that you can rely on, that's your boy or girl or whatever. That's someone that's really just like killing it with live, and just shed with them and just watch them and spend as much time as you can. Because once it's going to click, but you got to stick with it. It's going to be real easy for you to shut it down, get back over to FL, get back over to Machine and Cubase and Logic, but it's like, you got to stick with it. Always leave it open.
Exactly.
Put stuff in there. Try to mess stuff up. Record some audio. Record some MIDI. If it's messed up, just go to the next clip. Just keep doing it. Keep doing it. Repetition is key.
See, I like Ableton because I feel like you can make it as simple as you want to make it, but then you can make it as complicated as you want to make it too. If you want it to be like super in depth, you can make it that, like him.
Right.
And if you want it like how I use it almost like Logic, almost like the linear. You know what I'm saying? I use it on that side for the most part. And then if I use melodies, I go to the clip side, experiment, try stuff, and then I just swap back and forth, try different stuff. You know what I mean? So it gives you way more options.
I live in the session view.
Oh, definitely.
The only time I go to arrangement is when which to me is still one of the greatest features. You hit that global record, so all your ideas go into that. Yep. But I live in that mode. But yeah, macros and all. I mean, that's a great analogy. You can make it as simple of a sketchpad workspace as possible, and just do multiple ideas, or you can go like super deep and have every controlling something else and opening and closing things. And
I think one of the beautiful things about live is that it can do what everything else can do and so much more. That's what I always tell people. Like whatever you do in Logic, whatever you do in Studio One, you can do all of those things in Ableton, but then you got Session View, which is a whole nother animal within itself, and all those other flexibilities. So
and repetition. Like I said, if you sit down with someone who's just killing it, that you can really spend some time with, that's what's going to unlock that session view, like he's talking about, and like I live in. You sound like you're more of a hybrid kind of user, but but yeah, the days of Ableton doesn't sound as good as Logic. This, that, and the other excuses. There are no excuses now in live. You know,
I love the texture. I like the sound of Ableton better than I like anything. It's a texture to it.
There really aren't any excuses. The sounds have been bumped up and the whole new level with 10, and it's just kind of like
nice.
Yeah. So,
Busyworks Beat says, "Do internships have to be paid?"
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, interns about your experience.
Yeah.
And the being loyal and being responsible and
paid internship.
Put into it what you put into it.
That's a good ass internship.
Man, I wish.
A paid internship? Wow.
Bro, I was a ramen noodle internship. I was a struggle boy. Yeah. But hey, I learned so much. Shoot, I feel like I wouldn't have got here without my internship. All the people that I know now come from that internship.
Interns, it's a hustle. Yeah. It could be a hustle, or it can just be like I guess I'm supposed to be an intern now, and it's just like, but to get paid as an intern?
Well, your face looks really crazy right now.
I think it just kicked me off IG.
Damn, Daniel.
They say IG is bugging. Had to switch IG bugging.
Oh man, we gotta.
You're just getting into the mode.
New spot, new internet.
Dude, you gotta get some red cups. But
new problems.
I ain't trying to insult the shit, but it's all because you like you're nervous.
Yeah, it is. It's super fancy. I feel like
I drink all like.
I feel like I'm handling a baby.
Yeah, I guess
like this would never work on a boat or a plane.
I guess IG was tripping because a few people switched over.
Okay.
And we got a lot of people from whatchamacallit though.
From IG?
Yeah, we got a lot of people. Hey, shout out to everybody on YouTube, man.
Damn, can we get back on IG?
And now I'm back on IG and nobody's coming in. Oh, there we go. Finally. Cool. Sorry guys, it's acting crazy.
Listen, man, we're trying to figure out the new location. I'm trying to be fancy with the fiber. The fibers.
Fiber?
Yeah. Fiber's acting like DSL.
Shouldn't be.
Can you pass me the decanter?
Are they
with ease?
Are they
Justified Music? I think you got us too fancy over
here. Your business complex?
Yeah, exactly.
I just want to go out there.
Noah West says he would love to intern. Where you at, bro? Shoot, if you're in Atlanta, it's so many studios, bro. It's so many labels. There's so many.
There are more studios per capita in the city of Atlanta than any music city in the United States. Period.
Is that a fact?
That's a fact.
It felt like it. It's good to know it's an actual fact.
It's
half of them on Howell Mill right now.
Oh yeah,
and
on
here's the
the
thing,
north side.
a good source for potential internships. Contact your local SAE. Contact your local art institute. Contact your local SCAD. And this is all Atlanta I'm talking about.
Yeah,
they've got a laundry list of studios that would definitely take applications.
That's really good.
Go down there and do your thing, man. Like,
that's great advice.
Shake a hand, make a good impression, get in there and intern. Intern's all about, you know. I tell you, let me tell you a real quick story. One of the first interns that ever worked with me that was like kind of my intern for myself and a guy named Tom Kidd, who owns Silent Sound, was a guy named Phil Tan. And Phil Tan, if you don't know who Phil is, he's an incredible mix engineer, producer. But he came out of Full Sail and started working as an intern in the studio where we used to get the grind on, called Boss Town, down on Antone. And Phil came in there, and it was just in 5 minutes you knew that he was dedicated. He's going to get the job done. He's going to be responsible. And that's what studio owners, and that's what word of mouth happens too with producers and songwriters that book a room. On the way out the door, they're like, you know, Trizza, man, he was good. Yeah. He was really good.
Exactly.
And then later, that studio owner takes the intern aside. It's like, hey, get some good words, you know, whatever.
Such and such broke
Some
his
folks,
leg.
they just look at it like, but there's also, you know, there's financial stuff.
Yeah.
You gotta, you know, sometimes there's situations
Right.
or you get in over your head. But internship's a trip.
You got to make the most out of the opportunity.
Yeah, I think how people mess up is you got to go in the internship knowing that what you're getting out of it. I feel like people think that like I should get a job. Like I wanted my internship, like I just want to meet as many people as possible, and I got that. You know, I got out of it.
You did it right.
Yeah, but I knew I wasn't gonna probably make no money, even though I ended up getting paid from it. But it was like
there's tactics. My tactic used to be is after 6 o'clock, I would go in this room at this studio complex, and I would just leave the door cracked. I would just be in there doing mad beats, crazy shit, knowing that it's sooner or later there'd be like a little light knock at the door.
Yeah, like what's that?
And it's, you know, Teddy Riley's co-producer. Somebody's like, "What's going on here, man? Is that you?" It's like, "Oh no, sorry, man. Was I too loud?" And it's like the whole. It's like, weren't you interning on that session today? I was like, "Yeah, it was me."
Classic.
Sorry, man. They're like, no. And then so there you go. That's my little
classic tactic.
Memory of tactics of.
And if y'all can, just speak up a little bit louder.
Oh, gotcha.
The young volume thing is crazy on IG.
That's right. Oh, and there's no wall behind that guy, so our voices are just
float on. Busy Works Beat says, "How was housing in ATL single family homes? I didn't like downtown ATL. The homeless were very aggressive." Yeah.
You said the homeless were very aggressive?
That sounds like downtown Atlanta.
Yeah, if you live in
broad spectrum.
Yeah, if you live in the city, maybe. If you move to the outskirts, there's a lot less of that. If you live in South Carolina like I do, there's hardly any of that.
Well, yeah. What constitutes downtown? I mean, you got Inman Park. I happen to live in East Atlanta. It's my area. You know, Grant Park, all that. I mean, Decatur.
Oh yeah.
Definitely check out Decatur. You know.
Yeah. I live in Midtown. West Midtown is what they call it. It's super nice. You know what I mean? It's like close. It's like close enough to downtown, but you don't get the downtown
vibe.
I mean, I lived in Midtown in the day, like right at 14th and Peachtree, and I'd just walk out of my building, stepping over somebody. But you just aggressiveness wasn't there. So I guess depending on where you're at,
yeah, downtown is a little weird.
What constitutes?
See, I've never been a downtown living type of guy. You already know.
I hate downtown.
You already know I'm in
like
the cut
Harris
somewhere.
Street. When we talking like downtown, like yeah. So I'm sure Centennial Park and all that kind of shit.
But there's some good spots, man. Atlanta is very chill.
Yeah,
and the other.
It's a good place to live. I will say that. I love it. I've been here for what, 10 years?
You're a suburbanite.
I love it. I'm a super suburbanite.
We are in the city. You are a suburbanite.
It's all good, man.
Facts. Suburban ATL is just fine. Facts.
Yep.
Someone said Cascade.
All right.
Cascade's cool. Well, depending on what side of Cascade.
Snap finger.
Had to pull up at the Crucial.
Hey.
South Candler.
Dang, it was so many good questions too. And it erased me.
We went back.
Let's see. When submitting beats to artists, do you find better luck getting beats selected or a place that they have a hook on them? for reference, or beats with just a beat alone. I write a lot of hooks for reference.
I definitely have an answer to this, but you just recently worked. You've been doing this a lot, so I'm gonna let you answer this one.
I say, well, here's the thing. I would say always with the hook, but the hook has to be a good hook,
Right?
Because it's been situations where I've heard a hook on a song which makes me not like the beat. The beat is good, but I don't like the song. So then I really don't like it. I'm like, you know what I mean? But a lot of times the hook gives the person an idea. It gives you kind of what they're going for.
So let me ask you this: do you do a version with the hook and a version without?
Yeah,
that's what I was gonna.
And I always try to sell the hook, and then if they be like, "Oh, well, just give me the beat," then I just sing
There
the
it
beat.
is, right there.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess some of that's is hinged on the feedback that you get before submitting it. Say, hey, we're looking for this
Exactly
type of song, and then you're like, oh, okay,
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Let me get this girl to sing on it, or at
Exactly.
least the melody line.
People like, yo, your writer's trash, B. No more hooks.
Someone said left cascade good, right cascade no. Yeah,
Right.
Wow.
That's exactly right.
Yeah,
That's down in my
right.
down in my
Damn.
world, down in East Lake, East Atlanta. So yeah, a little left on Candler, a little too far down Snap Finger, and it's like, and I'm gonna
gonna turn around.
peek down on my gas. I'm good.
Peep down at my gas. I'm good.
Yeah, like
That's
that.
smart.
Left, right. No.
Hive Mind producer said, "What part of South Carolina, Oracle? I'm retiring from corrections in New York. I'm about to move down there."
I'm in what would be known as Georgia, South Carolina. I'm there.
Oh, you're
He's
like
close to
Georgia
Gastonia?
Bulldog, Athens, or something crazy
Facts.
thing.
Yeah.
I think it sums up with IG, bro.
Damn,
We
really?
dropping like flies over here, but hey, everybody's over here on the YouTubes.
That's all right. You can switch over to the tubes, and I have a backup plan, buddy.
Let's see. Midtown ATL is nice. Homeless
Yeah,
people
Midtown
working. Yeah, working people to homeless people ratio is low.
Wow.
I love Midtown, man.
Now Midtown is dope. I don't know if I could live there, but
Did you know?
it's dope.
No, I don't know if we knew each other when I lived there.
Nah.
It's right off Crescent. Man, I was back in the day.
No, I knew you off of 20. That's when I met you. You live off 20. That should we switch over to the other phone, see if that works?
Yeah, we can.
All right, hold on. This is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna take us off of the Wi-Fi. That's right. I'm sacrificing my bill here.
Do you send out track outs wet or dry?
I send mine out dry, especially if I know the engineer.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if I don't, I'll still send them out dry, but I'll send a reference. Like, yeah.
Yeah, sometimes you can just print it too.
Exactly.
You can print the delay style that you wanted. You just call it delay ref.
Yep. So hold tight, Super Cat. Hold tight. We're gonna come right back. IG.
Oh, there he is. There's your intern.
Right.
That would be.
I think I know what the problem
Dude,
is.
imagine being in a studio where the interns had to wear shirts or some shit.
That's why.
Oracle gonna win for Pack of the Year XO2.
Oh man, who said that, man? Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, cool. We back. This is I can't front. This camera is
He
crispy.
might fume us out of here, man.
Oh yeah. What you say?
I said he might fume us out of here.
No, it's supposed to be fumeless. I'm be fuming if it ain't.
Oh, we'll see.
YouTube's is way better sound.
Nice.
Yeah. Oh,
You guys
because
might
of
have
the
found your new.
yeah, because of the mic.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's the setup.
Video
So
quality not great though. What is going on, man?
damn, we losing it.
Yeah. It's,
that
I think
YouTube
it's the
drop
internet,
too?
bro.
It's the fiber.
You got hardwire in?
Yeah. Yep, right there behind you.
Ethernet in to everything.
Sound
Yep.
down.
That camera is crispy though, right?
That
Yeah.
camera is crispy.
Yeah.
Young Marv, what up, man?
What up, Marv?
Dang, man, they hating on us today, bro. Chris Cooper, man, why they doing us like that, bro?
Damn, YouTube.
We got young Diego Ave in the building.
Diego, what up, bro? So
IG
that
good
one-
now? Yeah, it's the internet.
Yeah, cause that one I'm off the Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yo, I'm watching you two on the Music Producer Mastermind meeting 2018.
Oh, dope. That must be the
Young Busy.
probably the LA one.
Yeah, that was a good trip.
That
I enjoyed
was.
that one.
That was
So you was
amazing.
in LA.
Well, I was down south at the Carnage in NAMM. But
That's
I,
right.
I couldn't make that drive, man. I was like, I wanted to get up there, and it was like,
Yeah.
that was a crazy weekend.
How did you enjoy now?
Love it. I'm one of those folks that just love NAMM. But it's also a social kind of thing for me too, catching up with my manufacturer friends and artists.
That's what we
so
need.
it's kind of gear, but I've been doing it so long. Comfortable pair of shoes and just walk the floor.
Damn, couple pair of shoes. You getting
Comfortable.
Comfortable pair of shoes.
I like it. Some people are just like, but a lot of times what I found is people who talk negative about NAMM are usually folks that work for a company.
Damn.
That have to go work the show.
I think
you know what I'm saying?
talk.
They're standing in they have to stand there and they're like, I'm like, okay, whatever. But if I can see come on, man. New gear,
I was just overwhelmed.
It was a lot. We were there and we were like, I don't know. It was a lot.
I love it.
I got there. You're the first person I called when I got there. And you're like, yeah, I'm in building 2, basement A, section B. I'm like, shit.
I love taking folks on their first like NAMM versions, man.
Yep.
Get that big swag bag at the end of the day, walking around with like 8 pounds of
all types of lanyards. And
parties are good though. But no, I really wanted to get up to that summit.
Oracle, what kind of phone do you have? This camera is crispy.
Hey, listen, all you haters. This is the Android. We switched from my old iPhone, which is what we usually do the show on, to my new crispy Samsung S9. But
that's good.
Yeah, that camera is pretty dope. I didn't want to talk shit about how good my camera was because I didn't have an iPhone 10 and I didn't know iPhone 10 might be just as crispy. But man, shout out to Android. And I knew that camera was good one night. I was outside in the backyard at the old crib. It was like almost pitch black outside. I took a picture. The picture looked like it was daytime.
Nice.
I was like, oh, okay. This phone is pretty serious.
That's cool. I'm just gonna ignore all those Android memes when they talk about the camera. You got the one phone that they don't make the memes about.
Oh yeah, that's a fact.
Let's see. I missed the LA event. I hope you guys come back.
Everybody's been asking about coming back to LA. Oh, shout out whoever just bought that kit as well. But yeah, LA was good. We might have to make our way back out there. But I keep saying the next city we're coming to is every city.
Facts. International.
At one time.
You go to Austin.
Austin? Okay.
I know that's right.
Dang, man, we having all kinds of difficulties. They're saying the volume's low on YouTube. I got it all the way cranked up.
Man, I thought the volume was good on YouTube.
Some people saying it was 1, some people saying...
Oh, so this is the troubleshooting episode?
It is. Houston, it's your fault.
It's me. I brought the... I'll leave and come back and reset the energy.
Houston came in with some caps.
Some aura.
In his teeth, some caps that's throwing it off.
Don Chella said, y'all hiring.
Yeah, you know internet?
Right. There you go. Need some IT people.
You know how to unthrottle the internet?
I need a personal assistant. That would be great.
Oh, my God.
Oh, yeah.
Man, for
A
real.
like a local one.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have virtual assistants, but a personal assistant?
Oh, man, that would be lovely.
Oh, God.
Oh,
I can't have an intern.
You
Because
can't?
of Berlin tax laws. Technically, for everybody out there, it's just like one of us. What does he do for Ableton? I work with a sound team, but I'm based in the U.S., but I work full-time for our Berlin team. So I'm like a satellite employee, but just 6,000-mile satellite employee.
Damn.
But with tax laws in Germany, in Europe, I can't technically have an intern. It's really frustrating. For just whatever, logistical. Sometimes I really want one, like on sound design projects where we're cataloging stuff.
Exactly.
Working with freelancers or whatever.
Yeah.
Interns are the greatest.
They're
the greatest.
You brought up something. We were talking this morning. I have a cataloging project going on right now. It'd be great to have an intern for that.
Man.
Yeah, somebody's just on top of that whole like
Got a few spreadsheets
Excel,
that need to be.
like really got it together.
Yeah. The thing is, when you talk interns, the first thing people think is that they're gonna be in the studio making beats with you. I'm like, that's not at all.
The interns I remember in the like grinding studio days, just standing in the corner.
Yeah, you just
happy to be there.
Waiting to coil some cables, go answer the door with the food, whatever. You know, treat them with respect. But it's a grind, man.
It is.
It's different now because everybody's got a studio in their house and a production and a storefront thing.
Yeah,
but it's not as glorious as you would think. It's like, you know, that's collaborating.
Exactly.
Interning is not collaborating. It could eventually be.
Here's a tip. If you want to intern for somebody, chances are they do not need help with the thing that you know them for doing. Like if somebody's an awesome producer, they don't want interns to come in and produce with them.
Right.
They have
everything else.
administrative stuff, runners, like you said, like cataloging and stuff like that. That's what you need to help
At
with.
that point, you're just glorifying collaborating.
Yeah.
It's like you have to be an intern and show up with your gear.
Right.
Well,
Exactly.
intern, you're there to get some experience, 3 months, 3 weeks, whatever it is.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Carlos says, Trizzy, you're gonna have to hit up Busy for one of his mermaid assistants. Yeah, the way my
I don't think they're assistants.
yeah, the way my baby
think I've seen
mama and
those.
wifey set up, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? That's not a good play.
Shout out to that. I think I'm aware of that visual as well.
Yeah.
Recently, after I met
Yeah.
Shout out to Busy. He's doing his
Yeah.
thing, and shout out to Busy for branding the mermaid thing.
Under the sea.
Because now that's really, you saw Nicki Minaj, her new album thing. She's like a mermaid.
Got the fishtail.
Busy did it. That's what I'm saying.
That's all Busy, man.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna throw out there.
There you go.
It's not true, but
Nah,
whatever.
it's true. We say it's true.
Any tips on how to get a similar fun bounce like Big Pimpin' or J. Cole Can't Get Enough?
That's all in the samples. That bounce is all in the samples.
And then, I mean, that's just
It's
still
percussion
drum.
loops too, and both of those things. No, one of those was done on the ASR, which has a bounce to it. The other one was done. No, both of those were technically done on the ASR. Just the second one, the J. Cole one, it went into Cubase, but it originally started on the ASR. I think I know the history behind both of those
Oh,
tracks.
shoot, we got Young Legend in the building. Hold on, man.
Who we got in here?
We got Young Ski Beats in here.
Hey, Ski Beats, what up?
Beats.
Hey, shout out to him.
Let's-
Hey, man.
Let Ski Beats answer some Ableton questions.
Right.
Yeah,
You
Ski's
know,
in there. He got that switched on bat, man. If y'all don't know about Ski Beats, he got his switched on bat thing going on. So, man, check him out. Super legend, man. Reasonable Doubt and Can't Blow and
Huge,
all your favorites.
huge Ableton tribe member too, man.
Yeah,
Way back. Legacy live user.
Oh, that's crazy.
dope.
Dang.
Well,
See?
Ski.
Ski know what it is. He's Ableton.
Somebody said, I just found out you could rewind on the live. Hey, I ain't know that.
Damn, I didn't either.
Hey, you just taught us something.
Yeah, shout out to you.
Chris Cooper, how was he said, I interned for Stankonia for a little bit. It was cool except for the food runs and cleaning. But did you get something out of it?
Right,
That's what.
Stankonia is a big studio.
it is.
It's like 3/4 warehouse, 1/4 studio.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But-
Wow. Yeah, hopefully you got something out of it. I got my start next door at Zach's.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Yep, right
Nice.
next door.
With Jim Z and
Yep, it
yeah,
was.
Stonehenge, all that stuff.
Yep, it was the Polo to Don days. Rich boy times.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is rich boy times.
And I worked right down the street. Not where Icon is, but it's if you go up that road right there, it's like a little furniture place, and then it's another studio.
Yeah,
Right there. It's called the Artisan.
I worked at Stankonia before it was Stankonia when it was Bosstown.
oh, that's what
Crazy.
Bosstown was.
And we migrated from Cheshire Sound to Bosstown. That was a huge. Had the front SSL room, but it had like a B room, a C room, in
Damn.
that big warehouse area. And then Bobby went off and was Bobby, and became Stankonia. So it really never changed. John Fry and all those guys were awesome. So
Dope.
Ski Beats got my favorite beat, Lucchini. Facts. That's
Yo,
crazy.
that's whew.
Legendary.
Yes, indeed.
Oracle Triller asked him about adding sample key detection in Ableton, please.
That would be kind of cool to have that. That's on my wish list of features.
yeah,
I guess we could talk to
it's
you.
on mine too.
You know what?
You can. I was gonna. Sorry. You can bet that those types of wishes are looked at. I will say this for the development team and the team in Berlin. You know, all those wishes are watched and looked at. There's always tons of things going on.
Right.
So, yeah, pitch detection. Come on.
Yeah.
I will say Ableton's very in tune with the.
Ableton has wish watchers.
And we may
Is that
take
the battery?
we may take half a century between releases,
But it's worth it.
listening.
though.
Didn't get it.
but no, that's probably one of the top 5 feature requests.
Ableton definitely be out here watching because me and Oracle did a video
Oh yeah,
And they definitely do.
that's
Wow.
right. You remember our video, our native video, where we went on Boris. We got on Boris for having on the green.
His outfit.
It was the MK3 review that we did, and then it became a hit with you guys. A1.
It kind of got around.
Yeah.
But it just shows that you're onto the culture. Y'all seeing it, you know what I mean?
That's a good team. I mean, there's a lot of different teams, so.
Because a lot of people don't know, like, it's so many
I mean, technically it's a
don't
communications team,
know.
but everything's different. NI's got a whole different thing, the way they do stuff. We have a way we do stuff. We have a film team that does a specialized videos. You always know it's kind of Ableton vibe or whatever.
I need to get them in here.
A week later, you notice that a lot of other manufacturers have the same kind of vibe. Like, wood desk, open loft windows.
Talk that real.
Yeah. So, but no, they don't. But all, you know, the thing to explain to folks out there too with Ableton, the U.S. contingent is a pretty small group. It's based in Pasadena. It's basically commerce. Everything else, development, communication, social media, artist relations, all that stuff happens in Berlin. It's 300 plus employees.
Damn.
When I started with the company, it was 36 of us.
Jesus.
Damn.
Ski Beats, you remember? We were small. We were up in Chelsea, New York. In the U.S., we had, I think, 5 employees.
Oh, that's crazy.
And then we moved to Pasadena in 2012, and then subsequently I went back to work for the Berlin team, which was 36 in 2004, and now it's right around 300.
Wow.
So you really been down with Ableton.
Been with them a while, 12 years.
That man is Ableton.
What did you say earlier? Sherpa.
Yeah, he's the Sherpa.
I like that.
He's my Ableton Sherpa.
Chris Cooper said, "How about a setting to move that track control to the right?"
Track control. Be more specific. What you mean about track control?
Let's see. Question: when will Ableton sponsor Oracle and Trezor? I think that they would be an excellent source. Carlos.
Sponsor in what way? We brought the Oracle to Loop last.
Yeah,
that is true.
I ain't hit it, bro.
Yeah, but I don't know. Maybe more clarification on sponsoring. Did he say?
Yeah. I think they want to see us on some of the Ableton video stuff or something.
Right. Yeah, that's a U.S. thing though. That'd be just getting with a U.S. team and somebody.
Listen, man.
Put it out there.
Go to Houston's Instagram and for no reason,
drop me a note. Yeah,
just drop him a note about
send
it.
me a message and be like, "Hey, caught you on the podcast. I was the one that brought up the thing about getting an artist story, because that's basically what it is. The way Ableton does it, sometimes it's video, but a lot of times it's that text Q&A kind of thing with links and whatnot. And just remind me about it. So yeah, Houston.Singletary. Houston with no O. H-U-S.
Houston with no O.
T-O-N.
I had you on my phone wrong for like 3 years.
Everybody
got
does.
it right.
I've got like 75 different names. But yeah, Houston with no O, we have a problem.
Let's see. Okay, so when he was saying, let me find his original question.
About the track control?
Yeah, so basically, you know how Ableton, I'm trying to understand. He means had the track
question.
to the,
I wonder why.
he had the track to the left like Logic.
Oh, you talking about the master track? Or the...
So you mean everything's on the right instead of the left? Is that what you're talking about? Like the I/O section and the whole metering? And
well, the I/O section is like above.
Yeah.
Well, it depends on what view.
Oh,
what
in
view
the
is
linear
about.
view. That's
I
what
got
he's
you.
talking about.
You know, it's all C++. Python, you could probably hack it. There's probably some hotshot Max for Live guy.
You definitely can.
Put that out. Nothing wrong with it.
Right.
Get out there and just roll your own.
Right.
And if you want to move a transport, you could probably, honestly, macro, you could probably attest to this because you were the king of this, actually re-macro your transport to be something completely different on your controller. I used to do that. I think my record enable was like a muted top key on my keyboard at one point. So you can map anything in live. So if that transport bugs you, assuming you're talking about play, stop, record, and you want to move them somewhere, just assign them somewhere differently.
Yeah. Just assign them to something, or even the same with the with the track controls. It's a little different, moving them to the other side. But you can code that, and it's not super tough. And you can probably find some Max for Live stuff that'll help
as a testament to, and for any hardcore live user, you guys can attest to this. The interface of live was so crazy in its 10th incarnation in 17 years of being a DAW. the interface is virtually 97%, 98% the same. That's kind of crazy. If you really think about it.
Yeah.
The knobs are the same. The sizes are the same.
The functionality is
the device view at the bottom is the same.
That's
I mean, there's been
crazy.
features that have been added, but they're just features that are within the software. That's crazy.
If it ain't broke,
Don't fix it.
there you go.
Young Disco Dave, what's going on, man?
What up, pimp? That's a crazy name. I'm so mad I don't have my screen right now. This is.
I'm telling you, man. I brought the this Jameson without the spritzer.
Oh.
Strong.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah. It'll do it.
It's good.
You walk in, but you swim home.
Yeah, trust us. You don't want to. You want to pace yourself. We figured that out the hard way.
I've had way too many.
It'll
shows.
make our user testing all the better.
There you go.
That's true.
This is it. Houston spending the night. You can't drive home.
Too far north for that.
Binary Zodiac said, "What's good, fellas? Just got my Ableton push 2 delivered.
Nice.
I want to meet up with y'all. When is the next event?"
Cool. That's a great question. So, Atlanta, assuming we're talking about Atlanta, the Atlanta Ableton user group on Facebook, type that in, join it. That's going to tell you when the next meetup for Ableton is. And there are 2 organizers in Atlanta that handle that. That'll be the way to find out when the next event is. But there's also, just for anyone else that's obviously outside of Atlanta, which is probably most of who's watching, any major cities likely got an Ableton user group.
Oh, that's great.
Now, that doesn't mean that you can't put on an event of your own. So the other reason to get signed up on the user group is to send a message to the organizer and say, hey, you guys haven't done an event in a while. I would love to organize this. I got this. I have this location, this bar or skating rink, whatever wherever you're going to do your joint, backyard barbecue, whatever you want to do. Take the bull by the horns and do that event. I can't say when the next event is, but I could probably go to the Atlanta Ableton user group on Facebook, and John probably has something in there. So,
wow, you hear that, guys? Not only can you find out when the next one is, you could throw your own.
You can do your own. We've had. Well, I say we. I'm not technically part of the U.S. team, but they had once or twice, I think.
Yeah, I was there 2 times.
Yeah.
Yep.
They're in Dallas, they're in D.C., they're in Chicago, New York, any major city. I think there's 40 plus just in the U.S. Toronto, Montreal, Vancouver.
Yeah. Oh, I got with you in one of the ones in New York too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, at TechServe, I think it was.
Yeah, TechServe.
Just about me said, what's the difference between live and push? Haven't researched, but I'm lost as you were talking about it.
Live is the software, push is the hardware.
And push is just an empty black box that's completely controlled by. I had this conversation yesterday in an interview with a user. Push is the hardware, just like Oracle said, but it's bi-directional communication. So everything that you're doing in push is being controlled and being monitored in live. So, whereas it's different with something like Machine or Launchpad Pro or some of these other devices, where there's a little something else going on in there. So,
yeah.
But that's the clarification. They're one and the same, but you look at it as it's our first incarnation of hardware too.
I think it's dope. I always tell people the difference because they're like, "What's the difference between push, Machine, and MPC?" And I'm like, "Well, Machine and MPC are something that you use with your DAW or in your DAW, whereas push." Like what you're looking at is the DAW.
It is your DAW.
Yeah, like those tracks on there aren't tracks in a box that you have to export. Like those are the tracks in your DAW.
You can slice something. I did a video today with that, or I posted one today. You can slice on the fly with push. You can do anything that you want to do, with the exception of linear workflow.
Yeah.
Which the whole idea behind the design of push, even in push 1, was that's because that switch is expected. So you do your beat making, you do your creativity with push, but then it's time to put your producer hat on, move over to your laptop, get on your flat screen, and get in there and start loading compressors and doing your mixing. So
nice.
There's some really, really nice tutorials on that kind of breakdown. Warp Academy and some of these other websites have these really awesome breakdowns on like using push as a freaking weapon. Like
not a weapon,
just
though.
like super productive.
Hey man, you can get your art.
Honestly, you can go to my Instagram. I mean, that's really where I live, is in push, and I do it on purpose, showing all the different ways that you can.
Right, you be going in.
Yeah. So
So
because
you
I
saying-
love it. I love push.
So you're saying Ableton's like the NES, and then the push is like a power glove and the duck hunt gun?
Oh.
Which duck hunt? V2 duck hunt?
Ooh, I like the OG one though with the duck.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're like.
But that's how I think of it.
But I love, and I will say this too. If you have not experienced push, and beat making is a game you want to get into. If you're coming off machine 2, machine 1, a launch pad, whatever your controller is, once you, and you can attest to this, once you lay your hands on push 2 pads, totally different game. That's what did it for me. And I will be honest.
Oh yeah.
And it's the entire company can be watching this. Push 1, when I wasn't on the road evangelizing Ableton and Push, when Push 1 was out, Push 1 was leaning against the wall. And I was on my MPC 2000 and my regular keyboard. The moment Push 2 came out, that November of 2015, I think it was, that day it was released. I honestly think on my Instagram, my first post was in Berlin, and I made a testimonial saying that from this moment forward, Push is going to be an integral part of how I work because the pads felt so good, and the workflow and the slicing.
They are nice.
It changed. It changed. Just changed everything.
Nice.
So back to spend some time with it. If you get your hands on it, if you're earlier in the podcast, someone just said that they just got theirs today.
Yep.
And that's
Binary Zodiac.
And that's a good thing. And it's like, so if you're on the fence, if you're thinking about it, if you're putting questions out there, get somewhere where you can actually play it. Load up a kit.
Yep.
Play some drums. Get a feel for it. Learn some scales.
There you go.
You know. So.
Well, ask me. I have all the machines and everything sitting right here. I can tell you what the pads feel like on every one of these things.
Beats Music says, I miss my old 2500 pads. Is the Push 2 anywhere near the old MPC pads?
They are, but they're not. The 2500 pads are thicker. You get more travel time. But with these pads, I get a better response off of them. And one of the biggest things for me, it's 64 of them. Like that's a game changer because you got to think. Even when I was using MPC, if I really wanted to play something, I would have to have a keyboard so I could play some keys.
Right.
Technically, with this, you have 5 octaves plus of keys in your pads. That was a game changer for me. So now, if I travel and I make beats, and depending on, it doesn't matter what type of beat I'm making, I can bring one thing and be good.
Yeah, and you can set. There's a scalability functionality on Push, so you can go to settings and you can ramp up your velocity, your expressiveness. So depending on if you're a hard player, you play softer, whatever. It's like, you know, like the push pad, the jump from Push 1 to Push 2 was so monumental just on the pad feel and configuration, or just the feel. The configuration is the same, 64, like you said. But it's something that you have to experience to. And every Push user out there knows what I'm talking about. But if you're not a Push user and you're thinking about it, I really encourage you to make that jump because it's nice.
Oh, it's not charging.
Oh no.
It's not charging. Oh no. Chris Cooper says MK3 pads are the most responsive pads I've used. How does it compare to Push?
I think, like I said before, I think the Push pads are more responsive.
Still
Hold on. Yeah, because it's not plugged in. Hold on, bro.
For me, is this on?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. So for me, and I'm 100% Push, and there's a Mark III in the setup, and I'm also a complete Control 61 user. Sits right underneath my Push. Shows you how much I use Push. It's like you see on Instagram. It's right on top of it. But I will say the pads. I think the recoil, just for me as a finger drummer, I could feel a little bit of that.
We good?
Lack of spring.
Should be good. If you unplug and plug back in. Sorry.
That lack of spring. I keep thinking that we're muted or something. But anyway, I just feel like I always feel like I'm a little slower on the Mark II, Mark III pads.
Really?
Like a little bit. And I don't. It's something about and this, you know, I grew up on these machines. Like I had an MPC.
Right.
You know, I went through the whole incarnation of. So. But nothing wrong with the Mark III and I either. So.
Yeah, I'm just a Push guy. I'm a Push guy. I'm Ableton Shawty. There we go.
Yeah, I know we want it now. Straight
into
to the wall, baby.
Can we have multiple pack loader because the individual loaders are a nightmare. Multiple loaders would be more efficient and less time consuming.
Multiple what loaders?
Like pack. I guess. Are you talking about like a drum rack when you're going to
like loading multiple drum racks?
You know, the only thing that I would like is like a key command, so you know you can make stuff vertical. Because sometimes I like all my kicks on one pad.
What are we talking about? Are we talking about drum racks?
Yeah.
I thought he was talking about your packs, like downloadable.
That person was asking about packs, but then Trizza was talking about like on drum racks, like instead of your stuff, if you have stuff that's going across, you could somehow just
make it go vertical. You know what I'm saying? But it'd be like a little button.
You're talking about the device view itself?
You know, like when you're dragging something in drum rack, it automatically goes horizontal, right? Sometimes I would want my kicks all to be on the up and the same row. So if it was a button where you could just hold it and it just kind of changes from going horizontal, loading the kit to straight up.
Are you talking about in the drum rack or in tracks?
In the drum rack.
Because you can invert the direction of the track.
So you're talking about like here, and then you can hit a button and it would.
Yeah, exactly.
So, or even when you like double click on something to load into a drum rack, it'll load them this way instead of across.
Exactly.
So but wouldn't you be able to just can you load the 64 pack kit?
Yeah. I don't know. This podcast said I don't have anything in here yet. These are sound effects. This is not the kit for that. But I see what you're saying.
Is this a drum? This is the drum.
Yeah,
rack, right?
It's a drum rack. Hold up, wait, let me go back.
Yeah. So we'll just take this guy, pop it up there. Right. So you hit this layout button twice. There's the 16. Okay. There it is with the step sequencer. And then the layout mode, the last third one goes 64. So you'd have to push like 3 times.
Oh, got you. I see what you're saying.
So you can but as far as an automatic, what's interesting, that's why I was asking if they're talking about tracks or drum racks. You can hold down the modifier key. I think it's Shift Command, and when you bring tracks in, and when you bring in like audio clips in.
Oh yeah.
And you can make it go up or down or sideways. So it'd be interesting if there was just a macro.
Exactly.
Yeah.
To where you turn your drum rack kind of gets out, because basically it's the 16 pad paradigm. It's kind of just the way it's kind of like battery. Really, it's the same thing. So
yeah, you just get 4.
You just want to invert. That's actually a really good wish. That's a good request.
What's the Ableton meetup site? And I'm also talking in regards of Sound Oracle and Trizza's producer event. So why you answer that?
Young Nature.
Someone said Trizza with the hands. Y'all still
should do.
You got the whole chat though. So
it should be a combo, man. Because assuming, I know he's not answering or asking the question live at the moment, but assuming that was for Atlanta, go on Facebook. You can go on Twitter as well, but mainly Facebook. The Atlanta Ableton User Group. Just type that in, you'll see it. I think it's one of the largest memberships. I think it's like 1,800 members or some crazy shit.
Damn.
But anyway, John Jacobus runs that. He's the organizer. He's been around for a long time. I mean, the user group goes back to 2007 for Atlanta. And to coincide it with the Trizza Oracle producer event, it should just be run together. That's kind of how we always do stuff anyway. It's just kind of
I think that would be really
I don't want to mix this up with what you did 2 weeks ago.
Right. But we could do like an Ableton. Yeah, with the meetup group.
It's just grassroots, man. It's just a matter of
what was that spot?
Rocket science, really.
I really like that spot. What was the spot that it was at last time with the boombox on the outside?
Oh, it's not Sound Cave. It's a music room.
Music room
in Emmett Park.
Man, listen, I love that spot. The only thing about that spot is when I pulled up, we got there early, and it was like a guy that was like already there. The amount of people that just like show up early and are like, "Hey man, I
call that the Thunderbolt crowd. I know that's a vague reference, but it's like when you're trying to finish your shit or trying to get set up.
Yeah.
So you're hooking your stuff and you got your cables and you're doing all, and someone just keeps asking you stuff, and you're just like, "Give me 5 minutes. Just let me tear down or let me set up, whatever the situation is." And and they're early. I love it when the early person is there too. There's one person that's always early. It's like 4 rows back.
Yeah.
In the metal chair or at the event at the banquet hall or whatever, and they're just like,
"Yeah." I'm like, "No, you need to get up and help."
Like, excuse me, I know you guys aren't starting for 45 more minutes. Could I ask you a question? Dude, it happens all the time. You seem like out in the dark in an auditorium. They're like, excuse me. I know you're probably busy. I have a question. When is Ableton 12 coming out?
Yeah. You're like, you can wait 20 minutes until this thing starts.
Like, or you inside you, what you really thinking is like, who let this dude in?
That's a fact. That's a fact.
But
like,
you want to be nice. I mean, you want to answer a question, but it's just funny. But,
I'm like, oh, this person.
But that's it. Ableton, Atlanta Ableton user group. Any other major city, same thing. Get in there. Literally post your questions. Send a message. It will be seen, and that's how you get that started. So,
and shout out to John too.
Yeah, man. John's man.
Well, first of all, are your lights motion censored? The ones on the steps?
Yeah.
I definitely felt like Michael Jackson in that video walking down the steps.
It's like reverse.
Yeah.
Billie Jean, because usually it's on the ground.
I walking down the steps.
So the ceiling.
Oh, yeah,
okay. Yeah, just that was a side note.
Is your elevator not working?
No, elevator's down.
It's down for the day. Yeah. Oracle, what's the name of your kit dropping next week, and can you give us a little description of it?
It's gonna be called Sample Genesis. I'm doing this with Young Inno. I'm the innovator. It's going to be loops based on classic video game sounds.
Arcade.
Yeah, not as far back as like C64 per se, but like Sega, like the Sega days and the NES.
Activision.
Yeah, like the Activision type of stuff. So that's the move, man. Sample Genesis coming next week.
Sounds crazy.
You know, it's gonna be loops. It's gonna be the MIDI, and this time we give you the MIDI for every part, not just the chord progression. And it comes in the stem version too, so you can get the stems and the MIDI stems.
Dang, man.
Whoa, audio stems and MIDI stems. Chill. No, let's not chill.
Wow.
That's what's happening next week. So it's gonna be a summer, and there's something else coming after that too. But I'll chill on that.
I want to do a pack with you so bad.
Hey man, look, we gotta do a pack. That'd be crazy.
Am I the only one having trouble getting Mac stuff to work in Ableton 10?
Max, MAX.
Yeah.
Make sure that you have. Well, I tell you, one interesting thing without going too far down the Cycling 74 rabbit hole. Max for Live, you did say 10, right?
Yep.
Max for Live is part of 10 now. It's not like redheaded stepchild like it used to be. But make sure that your OS X, not saying you need to jump on High Sierra and all that bullshit. Make sure, go to the Cycling 74 website and make sure that your OS X version is in line with the latest version of Cycling 74. And then that communication is probably going to work better, because I know for a fact Max for Live works like the bomb.
Yeah,
I just was using
But
that's probably what it is, and I don't know which laptop you're on, which version of OS X you're on. Make sure those coincide, because under the hood, Cycling 74, that application is still on your drive. It was installed when you put 10 in. That's the root of Max for Live is Cycling 74, so which is called Max, which is the big program.
And a real quick side note, Max for Live is crazy. If you're not into Max for Live, get into it. When I do consultations, depending on what the person is going through or what they're trying to do, I always suggest it's like 5 Max for Live plugins per person, because there's so many of them. 98% of them are free.
MaxForLive.com.
Yeah,
it's unbelievable.
It's crazy. That library,
it's unbelievable,
and it's useful stuff, man. Super useful.
Sequencers and modulators and crazy.
All the secret.
Yeah,
that's a rabbit. Listen, UnQuantized podcast listeners, that is a rabbit hole like a mofo.
It's the best rabbit hole ever.
You will spend an entire Friday night just dragging every.
Yep.
And then you get to one that says like $2.99, and you're like, huh. Okay, I get that too. Yep, I get that too.
Even the videos, our early beat making videos was done in Ableton.
Yep.
Yeah. We were doing.
We were
with the QuickTime. The QuickTime viewer.
Yeah. Like we were using Max for Live program.
Visible.
Yep.
Yeah, we were using Visible to edit our videos.
Yeah, Max for Live is part of 10 now, and we just did the a very fast development. We did this thing called Creative Extensions, which gives you 2 new synthesizers and gives you 5 new audio effects, including pitch, inversion, and a bunch of envelope gated drum plays and all this kind of stuff. But anyway, it's called Creative Extensions. Just go to the website if you're already on Live 10, Suite 10 rather. Download that pack. It's pretty tight, and that gives you a really good idea of how. And I will say this too: if anyone that's really into 10, what you've probably noticed, and you guys can attest to this, and all you hardcore live users out there, Max for Live is starting to get we're starting to put a little bit more of the Ableton look, as opposed to when you, the legacy Max for Live, you do this whole, I keep saying redheaded stepchild, but you go to this thing and it always just kind of had that look.
Right.
Now it kind of looks like auto filter
Right.
and compressor and auto pan. So
That's true.
and it's doing things now like modulating and doing gated step delay and all this sort of crazy stuff. So
Yeah. The thing I like about Max for Loud, real quick, is I can click on it no matter what the plugin is, and I could get it in and I can start messing with the code.
you're the dude.
Like off the rip.
I mean, you are the guy. There's literally, it's like a limo window right here. It's like a total divide. It's like, I'm over here just doing little music stuff. Dude's over here writing the code, like presentation mode in Max or Live.
Oh, man. Yeah, I'm like
I probably opened that window 5 times in my life.
most people
Open
open
it
it
up
by
and I'm
mistake.
like, oh, I didn't mean to open that. I opened it by accident.
Yeah, I'm like, what if I change
you-
this 0 to a 1? What will
I don't
happen?
even know what y'all talking about. Y'all said it. You said that. I was like, wait, that's a
But what's
mode.
crazy with this cat, with Oracle, is if you spend, and this is what was one of my favorite things when I first met you, if you spend a session and watch what you do with Max for Live, then it inspires you to go home and open it up and actually say, yeah, I can do I can turn one delay into 3
Yep.
with one of those going to its own output or whatever. And it's like, oh, I didn't know that I had to do this
Exactly.
little.
I used to play a lot
I
of
stop right there because I don't even know what the lingo is, but I just know that it's like,
I used to play a lot of Mousetrap. Remember Mousetrap when you were a kid? I used to do that. You push the ball and then
yeah.
the chain reaction of things happens.
Not the zany contraption. The zany contraption.
Yeah, old man backflip into the bucket.
Yeah. Little ball and a drop at the end. You'd be like, yes.
That when I think
Spent
about
a whole
Ableton.
afternoon making that thing, man.
Yep.
And then did you ever mix it up with your other?
Oh, Legos.
Your
and all
other
that?
yeah, like make a hybrid.
Oh yeah.
It was Mousetrap mixed with.
Yeah.
I forget what was the thing with the metal contraptions you put together with a gear?
Lincoln
Yeah,
Logs.
a
rector set.
Rector
Yeah.
set.
I used to do a rector set, train set, and Mousetrap combined. I would do this crazy. Made little Hot Wheels in there. Just make it like.
Nerding out. We nerding out.
Winzo says because Ableton allows you to map lots of functions to any controller device, why would you need a push?
Oh, you need a tactile feel. If you're like me, you just need. It's something about playing your stuff out physically, and you can do a lot of things faster, navigation wise, on a push than you can using a mouse. I hate using a mouse. I hate using the keyboard if I don't have to. Like for instance, if I want to go to this track over here, I don't have to mouse and click on that track. I can just hit the button here or hit the button here. You know what I mean? It's a lot faster. I don't like that. Boom, hit the clip, hit delete. It's a different feel. Sometimes you want to switch up.
So I'll keep this under 30 seconds. I promise. The reason, and this goes back to my comment about getting some hands-on experience with it, whether it's somebody that uses a push or you go to the store, spend
Right.
some time with it, feel the pads. Take a minute and realize all the power that you have with push in regards to playing chords, inversions, and scales, but being able to flip over and totally flip a beat and slice it, all right in the display. You could put we used to challenge ourselves all the time. I think we had videos too where we promoted this for a while. You just lay the laptop lid down and challenge yourself and realize that you can slice a sample,
Right.
create beats, play some piano chords, do some step sequencing, all in push.
Yep.
Yeah, and so that's the difference. So it's kind of like I always sort of put the Launchpad paradigm there. It's like Launchpad's great, but an APC 40,
Right.
an APC 20, and Mark II, and all that is you're channeling yourself to launch things, do macros, turn a filter up, turn something
Right.
down. Whereas with push, both hands are on there and you're doing music. You're creating beats, you're slicing, you're making beats, all within that LED display that just takes it like.
Right. Now, okay, I know you're not an Apple guy, but I think of it like my MacBook, right?
Right.
If I have AirPods, it syncs up immediately, right? If I need an AirDrop, they all work together. And it's like, I feel like if you have, like, what is the other controllers,
Like a Launchpad or something like that.
they're like having bootleg AirPods. They connect, they work, but they don't work to the full extent. You know what I'm saying? When you get the rear AirPods, you can tap, you can pull up Siri, you know what I mean?
Everybody I
Oh,
know
really?
that has those swears by them.
Oh, best investment.
Oh yeah.
Best investment.
He's been talking about that all week.
I know. I need to.
Yeah.
change that.
So that's to me, push is the AirPods.
I gotta
It's
get
that
some
same-
AirPods. I still have Apple
I would,
products.
if we never touch on it, one thing I will tell you that's crazy to witness is there's a protocol that Ableton has called Link,
Oh yeah.
and it's in every app on out there and across the board. And most people I think understand what Link is, but it basically lets you synchronize frame accurate with another laptop, another phone, and another tablet. You can have endless number of people doing it, but to see two individuals locked with push like Oracle and I could just be face to face. I could have a push. My laptop's here. His laptop's facing him, and we could turn link on. And I'm dropping beats. He's playing scales. He's playing some music. I'm doing this. I'm slicing something in the background, all while the timeline's going.
Yep, and it's synced up. Me and Tech Beats.
Yeah, I can turn on his metronome. He can punch in. It's like it's called Ableton Link.
Crazy.
It's amazing.
It's
no more MIDI cable. Everybody just connected.
Yeah, and that protocol that Ableton developed, I want to say it was 4 years ago, went from just with Ableton now is in every app has it.
Oh, that's crazy.
Is that a proprietary protocol?
It's in every single, you name it. It's like
That's
crazy.
Yeah.
Let's see. Is Max for Live like Reactor in Native Instruments? I'm not familiar with Reactor.
No, Reactor is
but
like
I defer to the doctor.
Well, Reactor is, think of Reactor like Contact. But like Reactor is the thing, and like there's a new Reactor synth, and you can load that synth up in Reactor or something like that. Max for Live it's a YouTube question, right?
Yeah.
Max for Live is a set of plugins that work with Ableton. They're kind of like Ableton native plugins, but just kind of made by somebody else, and there is a whole world of them. And Reactor is more instruments and stuff, whereas Max for Live it's also instruments, but it's more plugins. And even when I say plugins, I don't just mean effects. There are effects too, but there are utilities. That's what Max for Live shines, in the utilities. Like for instance, let me think of one real quick. There's one I use called Green Switch. You put that on the track. When you mute the track, it turns off every effect and instrument you have on the track, essentially saving you all the CPU that they use while they're not being used. Now, just take that. The Max for Live library is full of thousands of little utilities like that, as well as instruments and effects.
Thanks. Noah West says, I want a drum kit that's a collaboration between Trizza, Oracle, and BusyWorks Beats.
Oh, we can make that happen.
Yeah, I'm with it. Yeah. Busy. Make the call, dog.
There you go. Do it. The main one is the main one, and then like my 32-bit one, I just copy a shortcut to that.
And so the short answer is basically you can't, within the preferences of Live, that window's all you're going to see. So you're saying make a multiple directory on your desktop or in that root folder.
Yep, in the root
that
folder.
Routes those,
Yep, and you don't have to move anything from your other folders. Just make a shortcut to those folders and put them in your main folder.
That's a great hack.
Yeah, I've been using that hack since I started Ableton. Yeah.
Oh, so yeah, with the kit, the audio went out. I don't know what. Today is just, they're not trying to let us win today.
Oh, man.
But, Busy, we're going to make it happen. They missed all the mermaid jokes we made.
Oh, we made a lot of them, too.
Dang,
Do
man.
we need to re-answer that question about your hack?
Oh, yeah. Did y'all hear the hack answer?
Go ahead, give it to him one more time.
Okay, so really quick, for the person that was asking, can you have multiple VST folders that Ableton can see? No, you can only have one, but what you do is you pick one main folder, and for the other folders, you just make shortcuts to those folders and put them inside of your main VST folder, and Ableton will see them just like
regular folder.
Yep, just like a regular folder.
Can you get a good beat master out of Ableton stock FX?
Oh, definitely.
Super facts.
Yeah.
Live 10 will take care of that.
Yep. The glue compressor too, and all that.
Kit number one, I think I put, I guess I have a team of freelancers that I hired, you being one of them.
Damn.
When we were developing all the new kits and sounds for Live 10, and a glue compressor and compressor was, I would say, on every single device.
Yeah.
Because it was something that, part of my motto, or part of my commitment when I took the gig on the sound team 2.5 years ago to start on Live 10 was we have to studioify whatever we do. Sure, we'll port some sounds from Live 8 and Live 9 and tweak them a little bit, but all this new stuff, these curated packs, Chop and Swing and Skitter and Step, and there, if you go to the end of that chain, open that chain up, some of them are pretty elaborate.
Oh yeah.
You'll see that glue compressor, regular compressor, just smashing everything,
Yep. And shout out to Ableton for including Oracle sounds in the Live 10 sounds, and Beat Tools and all that good stuff.
Beat Tools is fun.
Yeah, Beat Tools is dope. If you don't have Beat Tools and you have Ableton, go get Beat Tools now. It's free.
Thanks. Is there a good Max for Live alternative for gross beat? Excuse me.
I want to hear the answer to this.
Yes, there are quite a few. There isn't one that does exactly what gross beat does, but there are some multi and glitch effects ones. None of them, I can't think of any good ones that are free. I think there might be 2 or 3 of them, but collective of guys, K Devices, they make some cool like stutter glitchy stuff that's very comparable to gross
What's a
beat.
glide thing though? You know what I'm saying? That's the one that always.
What, the tape stop?
Just a churn.
Oh yeah.
Because there's the stutter glitchy stuff all day.
Yeah.
And gross beat, I mean, it is so, you can set those envelopes to make it rhythmic with that glide stuff. It's like,
Well, there are
Busy
some
Beats does a video on that. I was just like, yo.
There's some good like tape stoppy glide plugins in Max for Live. They are free, but the best sound I get out of those is honestly just doing the envelope. I found all the devices that do it, and they sound good.
Transpose, right?
Yep. Put it on, make your section. Put it on transpose.
Take it out of Snap. Take it out of Snap to Grid.
Yep. Take it out of Snap to Grid, and then I do a linear ramp.
Or just do like a little slope curve or whatever.
So we're about to get real nerdy real quick. I'll just go to the end, use the draw tool, and just carve out that little rectangle.
Right.
And then just delete that circle and delete this circle, and then all you're left with is the top one and the bottom one, so it makes you that perfect linear.
Put that little slope, hold down options, put that
that little curve in it.
That little curve.
Yep.
Man, that's the secret.
Well, that's not even getting into Max for Live then.
Nah, not at all. Yeah.
But it makes all the difference though.
But yeah, gross beat is really something, man.
Yeah.
It's something.
Yeah, gross beat is dope.
Binary Zodiac says, where can I follow this Ableton guru, aka the Sherpa?
Probably Instagram's the best.
Give me your Instagram one more time.
HUSTON, Houston.Singletary. You'll see it. But I think in regards to more testimonial stuff, more something you maybe see on YouTube, I have to like sit down with my boys here to sort of get moved into that area. I get asked that a lot.
We need to do some auxiliary.
Because when I left the U.S. team, and with the U.S. team, I ran the education division, so I was doing lectures and workshops. And I organized all the user groups. I managed our certification team. So all the certified trainers out there, I certified them. So I did all that stuff. But then once I got out of that and went to the sound team, I was removed. So really, for me, it's just Instagram daily. But it's just music.
Right.
What I need, what I do need, I need to kind of probably get on YouTube and have a channel where it's like split screen stuff where it shows live but also shows push.
That'd be dope.
Some interviews.
Wow, I didn't realize how much.
Yeah, but drop me a line and say what's up. Well, maybe that'll.
If you switch it around, it makes it stronger. That's what they say.
No need to aerate here.
That's what she said.
Justify Music says, man, Ableton lingo sound like alien talk. I'm about to put this 12-hour work shift to work studying Ableton instead of reading.
There you go.
Hey, one thing I did, someone challenged me years ago. It was our former managing director for the U.S., Dave Hill, who is at Isotope now. And he said, it was back when I was doing all the workshops back in the day and all those early videos for live. And he said, do you ever read the manual? I was like, I hate manuals. RTFM, man, I hate it. I just don't care about manual. He was like, do me a favor. I want you to do this project for 2 weeks. I want you to crack the manual. Because the manual with Ableton is like,
it's like,
of course, there's not one now because we're in the US, the stick world or whatever. The manual was thick, right? And he said, do me a favor. I want you to crack it open and I want you to read 2 to 3 pages every day. Doesn't matter what time of day it is, but just do it. And I started doing that. I started doing it on planes, started doing it at home. I had a thing in my calendar that would remind me. And I started, and every single time I opened that manual up, I would learn something.
Sounds
Yeah.
about
I'll
right.
never forget. I swear to God. And it was like, and so now today it's like, whether it's Andrew Wan or whether it's Oracle or whatever, it's like just type that in, and you're gonna get like,
Yep.
yeah. How can I gross beats in live?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like,
I see you.
it's like, it's all right there in front of you, man. It's like,
It is. And Ableton is one of those things. I had to turn my whole body to try to pull that joint.
If you want to kill it, because I don't want to leave the,
Dude, there's so many
swig left.
diamond
Yeah.
triangles in here.
I'm like,
But knowledge is king.
yeah.
I was with that interview yesterday, and the guy was frustrated with he's a drum and bass producer, amazing cat, really hardcore live. He actually uses 2 pushes together, one to do session view at the same time he performs on the top one. It's crazy. He's got an MPK in the middle, and he does all this beautiful liquid, it's like liquid drum and bass stuff. But anyway, he was actually borderline actually angry about it, and he was just like, man, you guys are killing me with this lock thing. And I was like, lock thing? He's like, yeah, I want to arm 2 tracks at once from push.
Oh.
And I looked over and I was like, just go right click on the record dot on your track, and he was like, yeah, and it says arm exclusive.
Yeah.
I said, just turn that off.
Take it off.
And then he went over to push and he armed his track, and it's like all, I'm just saying, knowledge is
taught me
king.
something.
Knowledge is king.
Right.
Point being, it's all in the manual. It's all on YouTube. It's like, the more you study, just take a look. It goes, just going back to the manual thing I was saying.
Right.
That was, I'll never forget, that was a pivotal sort of thing. It was like, spend a few minutes going down the academic bookworm rabbit hole.
Right.
Just do it. Just do it. Just turn everything off.
Damn.
Today I'm going to learn about follow actions in live.
Oh, don't start me on follow action.
Right.
But,
Sound Oracle, follow actions, Ableton.
Oh yeah, you're gonna get it. Oh, another thing about the lock thing too. Also, even if you leave the exclusive on, you just hold down Control or Command, and you could click on the track, and it'll let you.
Mm-hmm. Well, his was about push.
Oh, by push, yeah, definitely, because there's no Control or Command.
The shift is too far away. What's
Yeah.
funny is it's like if you do it, you have
Yeah,
to
you
go
just-
shift, record, and then it's like I can't reach over there. But it's like if you just do the
So
arm off,
you gotta get those Oracle things.
the exclusive arm,
Can't
you
be
just
with
go
combos.
you just go tap tap.
Yeah.
And it's great because what he does is he layers like an Ableton instrument, a massive for these crazy pads, and I get that. And it changes all. He sent me a text this morning. He was like, "Dude, I was up all night."
Wow.
That's crazy.
It's something else.
It's so funny he's watching that inspiration kick in, man. But it's all right there. It's just, it's there. But knowledge is king, man. You gotta learn it.
Young Brothers Music says any changes coming to the piano roll, drum sequencer, and live and chord detect.
I wish. I wish. I mean, outside of the resolution of what it looks in 10, piano roll meaning like FL piano roll vibe, or just the look of the MIDI editor? That would
I'm
be,
guessing a look.
Yeah. No.
What could you do to update it? Honestly, I mean,
Probably, maybe sometimes people like it at the bottom. You're seeing it like as it goes across and the lights light up.
oh, okay.
It's like a what do you call that? Marquee
I get
piano
what
roll.
you're saying,
yeah, gotcha.
Huh. I didn't think about it. I actually kind of like it. I guess I'm so used to it now.
Yeah,
It's
'Cause
pretty
I live-
rudimentary. It's pretty. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. Piano roll, shorty. I don't even got a MIDI
You
keyboard
go into
right
like
now.
you go into
Yeah.
like Studio One or Performer.
Mhm.
What's another one? Logic to a certain extent, depending on what screen you're on. That you see some piano roll in a whole different world. Like
Yeah.
it's
Ableton is pretty simple, but yeah, that's what
It's
you
simple.
use.
Yeah,
Simple.
I'm piano roll, shorty.
Trisha's not
Wow.
even using a controller right now.
Yeah.
hey, dude,
Wrong
yesterday was
here. Same
Dude,
here.
yesterday, I think this will hit with everyone who's watching this, and certainly everybody in this room. The same person that I was with yesterday, who's a drum and bass producer, enters his drum beats, his drum slices manually with his mouse.
Mhm.
But he kills on push. But he still goes over to his laptop and he goes, dum, tup, dum, tup, dum, and he does it. It takes him like 10 things, takes 10 taps, and then he's got his beat. And I'm
Does
like,
he-
do you ever just play it out? And he's like, well, I can. I just never feel really that confident in it. So I just
Same
type
here.
it. I just type it in, and I'm like, wow.
So on push,
man.
does he use the step sequencer, or he plays it in on push?
No, he doesn't use step sequencer. He
Wow.
types it in,
Mhm.
I can't.
and the tracks are mad crazy. Like when it's
Right.
yeah, and it's just nuts.
See,
So I'm
I'll-
like, it's
I'll
really
play in,
interesting.
but then I'll use the piano roll to kind of like exaggerate it. So my pattern might be simple, But then I use the piano roll to fill it in and
Yeah.
make it super.
Totally understandable. It's like everyone has their thing. I was just amazed. That's not a wrong way to do it. It's just amazing. I was amazed, man.
Yeah.
Like,
Shout out to all the artists out there that can draw in their beats. I can't do it. I had to play everything. But then I'll go back on.
now, that's not to say that I don't love a good step sequencer.
Yeah.
Shit is fun. But
Push.
at the end of the day, like drawing notes in, like your world, I'd love to see your world.
Oh yeah.
Like when you do that, I'd be really interested to see how you.
We'll cook up. We'll make some. Just 5 minutes says, by the way, reading 4-Hour Work Week because I saw both of you had it as one of your most influential books. Good read so far.
Good. Yeah, it's a great book, man. When I first started, that was one of the first books that got me.
Which one?
Launched. 4-Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss. About becoming just independent and outsourcing and all that stuff. Yep.
And so the question is, book recommendations from you, Houston.
Making Music, Dennis DeSantis, the Ableton book.
Oh, the
one
green one?
It's like gray.
Oh, great. Yeah.
It's like the #1. It's crazy. It's basically deals with getting yourself out of musical stalemates. It deals with working with technology. It talks about writing, and it's not just about. It really has nothing to do with Ableton. Actually, it uses Ableton as the reference, but it's called Making Music with Live, and it's by Dennis DeSantis, Dr. Dennis DeSantis. He actually does all our documentation, but if you read the reviews, like it's just
I might check that out.
I will. One more I will tell you is Live Power by John Margolis. Marguleis. John Marguleis. He's done all the Live Power since Live 2. They're always the #1 sellers.
Right.
That book will change your game.
I need that one.
You get that on Amazon. It's like, those are my two like hardcore book. But yeah, Making Music, the Dennis DeSantis book. That's one people fight for at these trade shows and stuff. They're like, or when you give it away as a raffle or whatever.
I got a free one at Ableton, one of those that private meetup we did at whatever studio.
It's a fantastic book. It's almost like life coaching too. That's what his hook was. And it hit a nerve when it first came out, and people realized, wow, this book really connects.
Let me tell you,
with like,
that was one of the best days of my life. I got that book, that Ableton bag, because it came. I got my bag.
The black bag.
Yeah, and that's the night I got my push.
Oh yeah.
Well, I had the one because Tech had 2, and I got the one from Tech, and then I got the other one sent. And then I gave Tech's back.
The black bag was the loudest Velcro ever.
Oh yeah, facts.
Wake everybody up on a plane.
Yeah.
I was gonna bring some swag today, and I was so paranoid about being on time.
Oh yeah.
I was gonna bring those cubes, those live cubes, those.
Oh man.
No, that's crazy.
Oh, you could have been late for that.
Yeah, we understand. I was late.
I think there's new Ableton shirts too. I gotta check. I gotta find out where those are at.
That's dope. My wife and I were doing yard work last week, and we both had on Ableton shirts. I know we look like the cutest nerds in the world out there, but yeah, we had our Ableton shirts on.
Did you wear a cutoff?
Nah.
You ain't had a kid cutty?
No. I wore it around my head like a G.
Oh, snap. They do it different on the Android. They only give you 30 seconds on this boy.
Okay. So we out on 30. We can come back and do 30 more if you want.
We'll come back. So, M Rhythmizer is like Gross Beat.
It is
super good. Cable Guy's Time Shaper is better than Gross Beat to me.
Yeah, Cable Guys.
Cable Guys is good. It's different though.
Yeah, it is.
That's some math.
Yeah, Cable Guys is
some
awesome.
math. That's like straight up.
He was hating, bro.
Like
YouTube, you're still here.
Trigonometry.
Facts.
Cable Guys.
Yeah.
I gotta call some Cable Guys tonight. It's been a minute.
Yeah, Half Speed is the one that everybody really likes.
Yeah,
I think it's dope, but I'm like, Gross Beat and M Rhythmizer both do that one thing, but I think Halftime might do it a little bit better than them.
It does that one thing really, really good.
Yeah, but I'm like,
there's also an artistic touch to it too.
Yeah, true.
I was about to give you a real nerdy.
There's an Oracle way.
I was about to say, Halftime is the Planoi of.
Oh, yeah.
That's over.
Yeah, you're about to get into it.
Damian James, 804. What up, man? I'm gonna be out
What's
that
happening?
way next week. Oh yeah, I gotta figure that out about what we're gonna do about the show. Cause I have
That's
to go
right.
to
You'll be
Virginia.
traveling. Yeah.
I'll be on the road.
Okay.
I'll call in. We'll do something.
That's good. I think my mother-in-law's in town next weekend too, so we got a lot of crazy stuff going on. We'll figure it out.
I'll just do it in my studio.
Yeah.
Everybody like, what?
Like UnQuantized with
what is
Houston Singleton.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
telescopic boom? That sounds like a natural disaster.
I get asked that a lot though. Like, how do you do your videos? It's literally, it's really, if you're into doing tutorial videos, if that's your thing, is I bought this. It went to Sam Ash a couple years ago, and I bought this short, like 8-inch flex mic clip. That changes everything because you can have everything solid on your main stand, but then you can do micro moves.
Oh yeah,
nice.
Changed it.
I see you're moving. I raised you a dolly. Have you seen my GoPro dolly for the smooth shots? You're sitting in it right now, buddy.
Oh, yeah.
Put it on the back of the chair.
Hey man, I think ER's doing. He got some headgear or something. I don't know if he's watching.
Oh,
he's doing some stuff with headgear.
Oh, really?
Oh,
that's
man.
like
looking
down,
like
got the minor
down the complete rabbit hole.
Oh yeah,
That's full commitment.
He got the head joint, the chest joint.
I want to see the outtakes before he figured it out. I tried that once and I gave up. I was like, no, dude, this is too crazy.
Too much.
So how do you link the DAWs when collabing with another producer?
Oh, click the link button.
It works on Wi-Fi. So basically, one person has to have the Wi-Fi. What do you call it? The Wi-Fi accessibility,
right?
And then everyone else, you tell them what that is. It's like Oracle.AT&T, whatever.
Yep, give them the Wi-Fi pass.
You go into your computer and just go to user, do the same thing, and then all you do in Ableton is you click on link.
Can you see the?
Yeah, it's preferences.
So I can zoom in for you. If you go to right here, link. Wow. That's all you have to do to link.
If I go on my phone and go to Trick Track or some kind of app, Animo, and whatever.
Yep.
Right now, I could go to that. I could hit the link button,
and we
all those apps have. Yeah.
That's so crazy.
Sunrise, whatever it is, whatever app I got. So I could be over doing little things, and you can get on your laptop, go into preferences there. And what's crazy is when you hit link, your transport will go, and the metronomes, like I call it the symphony of metronomes.
Right.
Suddenly they're all in sync. It's crazy. If you've ever been at a workshop, at a link workshop, where everyone turns on their metronomes at once, it's like this
crazy.
That amazingly obnoxious. Live 10, we offer. I was just gonna say one of my secret favorite things about live, doing all this sound design stuff, and doing all these kits and all the packs and stuff. Still, one of my favorite things is I got to do the clicks. So we have new clicks in there. There's still the obnoxious one because everybody likes it, but there's a Uri click, pitter pat Uri click, and then there's a soft sort of clave sound.
They're right in there. You know, you can change it in preferences. Can't you change them? Or
you change it right up in the metronome pull down. You'll see it from left to right. There's 4 choices.
Oh shit!
And one of them is the Uri click from the MPC. Look.
Oh.
I used to sample the MPC from my MPC 2000. I would sample the high one and the low one.
You can do anything. I mean, it's a real simple little workaround. You can put any metronome sound you want in there. I program stuff for folks with voices. 1, 2, 3, and you drop to 4 or whatever.
I think Busy uses a hi hat.
Yeah, you can use shakers. I mean, when you see, Ableton is just as popular on the road on shows and even in the studio. It's like everyone uses live. So whether it's Questlove, or it's a Kanye tour or whatever, everyone's got live. But what's interesting is a big part of what you see when you see that person with the rig controlling it, or see someone like Quest with a laptop or Stro or whatever. So much of that so much of what you see on stage when it's a bigger show, Ableton's actually just running cues for in-ears for counts. So the drummer might have a double time shaker, but the bass player likes a little thumpy thing. So everyone has a different track. So every song's got all those cues routed out, and that's why live is like is every tour. Like it used to be where it was just Pro Tools, front of house, it's empty, run a click to everyone's ears. Now everyone can control. Like praise and worship market, it's crazy.
Oh yeah.
Like those bands and those music directors.
I see them on the tutorials every now and again. You look up an Ableton tutorial and it'll be like a praise and worship leader or something.
But when you see this, like if you get like a little tour of the setup, some of these larger congregations and these bands, and what those cats are doing, man, with main stage and live, and how they've got it all like, we've got in-ears and I got 17 different click versions going to whatever. It's crazy. But anyway, my favorite thing about it is some of them are voices. So like Beyonce's tour is like Beyonce. There's her band. There's different folks that have counts. Like it is a voice. It's like 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, and like little.
That's
voice.
crazy.
So they're more tuned in. So if Bay decides I want to go to the ballad, we were supposed to do it at 45 minutes. I actually want to do it at song 3. She can say that to the music director. Music director's got it in his ears, and the technical director with live just hits one button for the macro, and the scenes just move down to the next song. So
that's crazy.
A1 is the shit.
That's something I need to look up.
So that's funny how you go down like this whole crazy thing on a metronome question, but it's like, or whatever.
Because I just DJ'd at Center Stage a couple weeks ago, and the band was using everybody's using Ableton and putting the clicks in their ear.
It's yeah. It's
That's
not
great.
even that whole thing started back around 2011, 2012, where it was just suddenly live took this new foothold and direction, So that's what vaulted live to where it is now. It's like all of a sudden it was just like, holy shit, everyone's using live.
Shit just
even
works.
DJing and stuff. I know a lot of people who DJ in Ableton.
It's just and there's that part of some folks. It's just you've got to sit down with that person that can school you because then I call it the us club.
Exactly.
Because it's a vibrant, happy group of people who use live, and then there's everyone else who's like, I'm gonna keep it on my computer, but I'm just frustrated.
Right.
It's like, well, why are you frustrated? It's like, I don't quite get it.
Yeah.
It's like, what do you don't get? And they're like, I don't know what I don't get. I just don't get it. But my best friend kills it. And it kind of makes me angry. And you're like, okay,
I hate him.
well, here's what you should try to do. And it's like, that's the thing, because it's not the easiest program to learn. I was stubborn as hell from, like, I used to get these old cracks of it and written on a CD case, and I would just stare at it, and I'd be like, I got to work.
Right.
I got to make a living. I got to get back to Logic and Pro Tools. And then one day, I put a stem in there of something,
And it synced up.
it, and
That's it.
and it got me interested in how the clip works. Like
Exactly.
seeing that, and then I was like, oh my god, I can chop that into multiple clips, and then just move each clip down a little bit.
Yep.
And now, all those are locked to a bar, and then I swear to God, in like 2 or 3 days, that was it. And then I started working for the company like a year later. Ironically, but even when I started with the company, I was still super green. They still joke to this day. They like come up to me at trade shows. They're like, "Yeah, so that was a nice presentation. You still rocking Logic, huh?" And I'm like, I'll get there.
Right.
But now I can't.
Oh yeah, I love the preview thing. That's like one of my favorite.
Oh
Yeah, this is a live circle right here.
Yeah.
It's a good. and that's the vibe. So I'm saying it's
You're
the
right.
S Club. It's like everyone has something good.
Yeah, it's
Like-
good. It's like money. We're like a group of, we're like Ableton billionaires. We're like, yeah, money is easy to make. And other people are like, I can't make any money. It's one of those things, but like once you get with somebody that knows it, and I think the good approach to take to live, which at least was my approach to live, I knew it did a lot, and I wasn't overwhelmed by that because I knew what I wanted to do.
Exactly.
And I'm like, how can I accomplish these things that I want to do? And once I can accomplish those, then I can explore, or shit, even figuring out how to do those things, I'll find out how to do other things in the process.
Right.
And I can still learn something new about Ableton today.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, to me, because one, we use our own loops all the time.
Yes.
Like, I'll make a beat and like I'll be like, oh, I like this hi hat. I'll save my own hi hat because I'll be like, oh, I'm gonna use this later. Because there's only so many drum patterns you can program.
That's true.
You know what I mean? So it's like I save all of this stuff. And then I just go back and I preview, and it loops right back in. So I can be like, "Oh, this works. This doesn't work."
Yep.
Yeah, the live browser is a powerful tool.
Yeah, that's crazy.
You can save entire tracks.
Oh,
It's
man.
an ALC, so it's all contains everything. Your clips, your MIDI, if you want to look at it that way for new live users. Your track information, your compressors, or you can save a clip. You can save things as templates, and it's all in the browser. So you can just say, "Oh, you know what? I got this new pack from Sound Oracle." Or Sound Oracle and Trizza. Oh, let me add it in my browser, and then it goes right in there, and then you just go in there and you can start playing in the browser. That was one of our goals with Live 10 that I presented to the team very early on. Is like, I really want in Live 10 the user experience to be in the browser before you even get to the interface.
Yeah.
If you can go through there, and that's where we talked a lot on MIDI clips.
Yep.
And working with booms and working with a lot of hip hop kits was like the experience of playing samples or MIDI clips before you're even in the interface. It's before you drag and drop it,
Right.
which is tunes into what you were saying, like just being in there,
Exactly.
knowing that your hat's going to cycle in real time,
Right.
playing whether it's a swing feel. It's exactly how you had it when you were.
I was going to go off on a tangent. I'm going to reserve it because I know we probably got a question.
Melodyne. Well, how do you feel about Melodyne? That's the question.
I haven't used Melodyne in like 7 years. When I first tried Studio One, when it came with Melodyne, that's when I had my Melodyne fetish, and that lasted for like 7 days.
Let me tell you guys something. If you haven't checked it out, I think you can check the demo out for 30 days. Go to Isotope and check out Vocal Synth 2. In regards to pitch correction, auto-tune,
like that.
vocoders, talk boxes.
Well,
No.
somebody DM me and remind me to check
Right.
out Vocal Synth 2.
Vocal Synth 1 was cool, like 2 years ago. This thing came out about a month ago. They upped their... Now, Melodyne's crazy. DNA is out of control. But I've always kind of looked at that as sort of an engineer's thing.
Exactly.
Sort of like that's something you leave with an engineer. It's like, I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah, he's like, I'll
Go in
move your
and drop that
syllables
part
around.
into 6 harmony, do the thing,
Right.
and fix that saxophone because the reed was out. It was an old reed. Can you please fix that intonation?
Right.
Or the bass is like drifting.
Right.
That's Melodyne, and that's cool. But
Right. It's not
That's just
fun,
not
though.
my thing. Like,
But Vocal Synth 2.
yeah, because Vocal Synth do all the
Right.
all the T-Pain stuff you want, or any kind of vocal correction.
Not to check that out, buddy.
Let's see. Young Brothers Music says, I would like if Ableton made a smaller version of the Push 2 for travel.
Nice,
That would be
Not
cool.
mad at that.
like lap style.
Not bad.
It's too bad there aren't any Ableton questions today.
All right. Busy Works B says, who develops Ableton? Is it just like a bunch of DSP engineers? Are they musicians or coders?
Is it a bunch of Germans? So basically, the company started. I'm going to say this, give this real fast. So Ableton was created by 2 individuals, Robert Hinke and Gerhard Bielis, who's our CEO. They worked together out of college together as a group called Monolake in the 90s. And their whole deal was, we have this show that's electronic hinged, but we can't bring all this stuff on stage anymore. So Robert developed in Max MSP the earliest incarnation of live, which was called Sequencer. Chaining clips together as a scene, launching things on the cycle of the bar, audio loops, that kind of stuff. So fast forward, they started the company, hired a really cool, really great band of developers. And so at the end of the day, you have our development team, and you have our sound team, and all these other teams within the company that make up Ableton. But at the end of the day, you've got this pretty large development crew, all based in Berlin, from all over the world. Diversity is really awesome at our company too. So we've got just an amazing subset of different lifestyles and genres. And what I've noticed over the last few years, it's been a bit of a wake-up call is when I go to the office, because I'm over there 3 or 4 times a year, if not more, is I meet all these new employees and they're like early 20s. I'm like, it's sitting in we have this, it's called the cantina, but it's like the lunch area. So you got this big community lunches and stuff. And so you just sit down at a table and you start talking to someone across the table. And it's like, oh yeah, nice to meet you. And it's whatever. And it's somebody that is from Belgium or from Australia or New Zealand or whatever, or Portugal. And they're like 22 years old. And I'm like, oh, what team are you on? Like, oh, I'm on the Max for Live development team. I'm doing all the code for the new Beat Seeker plugin or whatever. And so that's basically, to answer your question, that's what it is. Our development team supersedes pretty much every other group. I probably our second biggest team is communications team. The sound team, there's about 8 of us.
Okay.
But that subsets into the actual developers, the guy who made Drum Bus, the person who made Wavetable, the person who, our job is to make the sounds. So they're part of the development team. So you've got this really interesting arsenal of subset groups. It's a great question, actually, because it's sort of that hidden thing. It's really large. We have 2 5, 6-story buildings now. We started with just little, it's kind of like the Sweetwater story. Sweetwater in the little tiny house, VW microbus with Chuck Surek. And now it's this thing you can see from space, like this giant facility up in Indiana. It's like,
Sweetwater. Shout out to Patrick Dennis, who calls me at least once every 2 weeks.
Hey, how you doing?
You know Patrick.
I saw you purchase some Hosa cables.
That is Patrick all day.
Yeah, Abbott's got a new interface that might interest you.
Have you seen the
speaker stands with the?
Yep.
No, I'm good. I'm good.
So why would someone choose Ableton over FL when they're already comfortable with FL?
My answer short is more options, more flexibility, and a better tailored workflow. That's what I would say.
Mine would be use both together. Ableton's always played well with every DAW. That's always been our credo. We've never said we're better than anyone. We always try to convey that we play well and play nice with others.
Right.
So I said this earlier. Keep Ableton open. Take the 30-day trial. Check it out. You can run it for 30 days. You can run it in Rewire or just have it in the background. What you're going to find that Ableton's going to allow you more creativity, more creative opportunities to work in that environment with clips. FL's dope. FL's got great instruments. It's got the piano roll. It's got the whole little subset environment of creating those melodies and chaining them together. Great stuff.
Right.
Live is just a different paradigm.
And that's how I came to Live. I was a Logic user, right? And I would rewire Logic with Ableton. And I would use Ableton to sample with loops, right? And I talked about it. Someone gave me this Logic off a flash drive, right? So not the best copy of Logic, not something I should have did. And it just stopped working. All my stuff messed up, right? And so I only had this Logic Lite that I had. I mean, Ableton Lite that I had from, you know how they would give it out?
Like 8 tracks.
Yeah, but I loved how it would warp. And so when my Logic went out, I would just stick with that. And then I ended up buying it, and then I just loved it ever since then. And I never went back to Logic ever since then.
Yeah, the 30-day trial that we've had since the beginning, since 2001, the what's called the OEM packaging. So every interface, basically anything in the world that you buy, there's going to be a CD in there. I've always said that no matter who you are, if you're a musician, in your house somewhere, there's a copy of Live or there's an M Audio piece of product.
That's true.
Somewhere, you know. So I highly encourage you as an FL user to work with both. I always tell when I'm teaching or doing a consultation or whatever, and I used to tell my certified trainers this, is just work with both. Don't dispose of the other. Don't try to replace it. The interesting thing is, though, eventually you will.
Oh, yeah, you will.
Yeah.
And everyone, and I will tell this to that person that wrote that in, and you can tell by their reaction, Triz and Oracle, you will. And everyone will tell you that.
That's
and that shit-eating grin gets on their face, too, when they say it.
Because you use a lot
They're like, oh, yeah, dude, you're going to be,
I was using
6 months from now,
Reaper.
you're going to be like, yo.
Oh, yeah.
I was using Reaper and Cubase. And then I did the same shit, Rewire, and then I put a whole song in there and just
That's what I did. That was my light bulb moment.
Yeah, and I'm like, wait, like you can take it and
the shit out of this song.
I'm like
Atlantic Records, it was like Matchbox 20 or something. I had these stems,
yeah,
and it was like 2 a.m. after a long day of Pro Tools and tracking, and I was like, boop 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 boop. I was like, holy shit.
Yep, and it just turns into the first time it turns into that night, that long ass night of just throwing stuff in there, like, oh yeah, but it can't handle this.
But I will preach this till the end of time. Don't feel you need to think that you have to replace FL or replace Logic or Studio One or your MP. Live just needs to find a place on your drive. I just encourage you to always keep it open. That's what I always tell people. Just be able to tab over to it and be like, oh yeah, you're still there. Maybe tonight I'll put some audio in, or maybe tonight I'll do a beat, finger drum a beat. You know, or whatever, and then these little baby steps. So,
that's good advice.
Justify Music says, "How much are Houston consultations?"
Ooh,
dollar-wise,
yeah,
I think I'd float around $60 an hour or something like that.
There you go.
Hit them up.
Hit me on IG.
Boom.
All right. If you need Ableton questions,
yeah, Skype is.
This is the
Skype is I do Skype lessons every week. I know you do that stuff too. So. Yeah. Mine are pretty much to the point. We just establish communication. Send me the bullet points. I sort of lay out a foundation, then we hop on Skype, whether it's 1 hour, 2 hours, whatever. For fun. The beautiful thing about Skype, Slack works well too, but the great thing about Skype is you can share that screen. So if we're talking about more interface type stuff, I can screen share what I'm looking at, or if it's push, it's
exactly
nice.
Yeah. I'm afraid I'll fall in love with Live. I can't leave FL with a broken heart. Plus, she's been there for me for years.
What did I just say? See, now I'm like
polygamy, man. Polygamy.
Now I'm like that junior high teacher. What did I just say? Do not leave FL.
But you're gonna leave it.
You will.
You will.
But you won't feel bad. It'll just be used a little bit less. It'll be that old folder of pictures, man. Just like sitting on your drive. You'll be like,
damn, not the old picture.
Yeah, I remember when I used FL on that 2017 track.
Right.
Like,
yeah. I come across
it's not to me. FL is which is crazy because years ago, if you would have asked me DAWs and I said FL was number 2, people would have thought I was crazy. People would trash FL for years, and to me, I
don't know if it was trashing or if it was just more of just. It's kind of like the underdog.
It was kind of like the cheap. Your little cousin uses it.
Yeah, people just didn't take you serious if you use FL. Like I'd be like, I use FL, and they'd be like, oh, you don't really make music. Yeah, exactly.
It was cheapened. It was like it's also cracked as hell.
That is true.
It's like everyone. It was sort of in Ableton too.
You're right.
But it's like,
But I feel like the difference between FL is like a Lexus, right? It's a good car. It's nice. It runs well. You know what I mean? But that Benz to me is like the Ableton. It's like the premium features, a little bit nicer. You can do a little bit more with it.
Yeah,
it's a different.
It shows how much more you're into cars too.
Yeah,
and it's not easy, man. I always try to hinge on that. I understand that someone mentioned this to me not too long ago. If Ableton just had a thing to where it just opened an arrangement view, the amount of people who would not be discouraged at the very first.
You're right.
Yeah.
But it opens up in that Excel document,
spreadsheet,
and it's just like, holy shit! I don't know what's going on here. I need to get back to work. You got to get back to work. That's at the end of the day. You want to make music. Sometimes you're on the clock too, or whatever. I don't have time to learn this stuff. I don't have time to go watch.
But it's
all
not
those videos.
It's not hard.
Everyone's different.
It's easy to describe to hardware people to me because I'm like, okay, if you use an MPC, like a lot of MPC users, I'm like, MPC, you have tracks and you have sequences. And Ableton Session View. Your tracks going across. Your sequences are going down. It's the same thing.
Now there's a view, and I'm sure you use this of all people. The second window view.
Yeah,
so you can hit that view and you can actually customize the screen so it kind of looks like Pro Tools and Logic. So you've got the arrangement view up top, session view down at the bottom, and you can see everything sort of coexisting. But the one thing too, and this is a lot of information I know, is if you're coming from FL, I always recommend start an arrangement view and do your best to not even go to session view, but all the while be sitting with that person as a guru or getting every YouTube video you can. You need to learn, but just stay in arrangement view or in linear, which is the arrangement view. So,
true.
But grab that 30-day demo, man. It's the best thing out there.
That second screen, by the way, to get to that, it's either Shift W or Command Shift W or Control Shift W if you're on a PC.
David says we're low-key hating, but he doesn't explain how we're low-key hating. But as
he's low-key explaining.
Right, low-key explaining. As someone who uses, I came from FL4 to Reason to hardware to Logic to Ableton. I feel like I'm pretty experienced on talking about my.
That's true.
I think he's probably talking about when we were sort of coming up with a way to categorize what we were saying about FL.
I mean, look,
where it's not hated or cheapened or whatever.
I don't think FL is actually. I think. Look, if y'all guys can see YouTube, I have FL Studio 20 right here on my joint. It's not that I don't use it.
Maybe when the owners decided that they wanted to call it Fruity Loops for a decade.
That's
in conversations like, what'd you do your beats on? Fruity Loops.
Yeah, that was a weird. Yeah.
Really?
Well, that ties into the whole porno thing too. We're not gonna get into that.
Fruity Loops has some weird beginnings, but it is a good dog. I can't front on that, right?
I don't think we're low key hating though.
Yeah,
because I personally am. I'm amazed by that program.
Now, Reason, I'll talk trash. I hate Reason. Well,
yeah,
I talk trash.
It's a microcosm.
But we've used it before. That's the thing. Like we've, experience-wise, we've used pretty much everything under the sun. And just to say that this is where we all ended up is actually not hate on other things. It's just a testament to the great ability of Ableton.
That's right.
Yeah, Reason. The moment that I found that I could rewire Reason in Live, which is the easiest program to rewire in Live, with Logic being a distant second, is I could start playing Thor and doing all that stuff in Reason in Live. I was like, but the work in Reason, I'm like everyone else that ever works in Reason. You got like 7,000 4-bar awesome loops. You just make loops, like you just do these little things, and you're like, okay, that's kind of cool.
Right.
I didn't like the sequencer. That was my whole thing and reason. I can't arrange and
But it was not. It was a cool experience back in the. I mean, come on, look about when that started. 2002.
I mean, when you could click the thing and it flip around, you see the little movement,
dangles and cables, and you're like,
that was the best thing about it.
Push button, say, here we go, Reason bashed. I'll take it now. I'm Reason bashed all the time.
Reason bashed since Episode 1.
Man,
I still picture those jewel cases.
Ooh.
Sharpie.
Oh yeah.
Reason, and then that code.
Oh yeah.
Oh, is that the new one? Oh yeah, okay.
I hated it.
Hey, they got VSTs though.
20 years late.
Facts.
That's so crazy, bro. Sometimes I have issues with latency when I use a CPU heavy VST. I use voice meter as my audio interface.
Use what?
Voice meter?
I've never heard of that.
As your,
Voice meter?
I don't know. I would
Is that
encourage.
like an ASIO driver kind of?
Yeah, I think so. I would encourage you to use get ASIO for all. It's ASIO the number
ASIO.
4, yeah, and then ALL.
Use
Use that.
There's a nice in the help menu of Live. There's a whole section written by Dennis, the guy that wrote the book, on adjusting your latency and measuring it. So it's like 3 steps, and so you can. I battle that all the time because I'm using different interfaces. Like I use an Avid one, and I use a UA or whatever, and it's like, oh, I'm 40 milliseconds, whatever. You can go to preferences and you just cursor up.
Yep.
Get it to like 0.02.
There you go.
You're good.
There are also Max for Live plugins, like I said, useful utilities that will help you measure the latency per track or per instrument or whatever you want, and you can find out what's giving you the latency.
Latency's the devil, man.
Yes, it is.
He's right. Said my only problem with Ableton is not efficient on power like Logic. I record in Logic, but Ableton is still the most user friendly for creation. I get most of my ideas out quick.
I don't know about efficient on power, but if you are having that problem, I won't argue the point. I will say go to Max for Live, look up Green Switch for your tracks, and look up a program called ECO for your individual plugins, and it'll save all your CPU.
Is that centered around the idling stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, every plugin, whether it's an Ableton native plugin or UAs, whatever, any plugin that you're using, it's always running.
Yeah.
And Oracle could break this down to like numbers, but latency's the devil, man.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's a battle. It's like I always am amazed with like the cats in these big studios tracking like these engineers with the Apollos and the UA stuff and Pro Tools.
You gotta have that.
And they make that. This reminds me of a story. A super A-list producer in Southern California. I went into a studio one day in Santa Monica, and we were sitting there talking, and he was using Logic and Ableton, and everything was fronted through Pro Tools. So it was an elaborate setup.
Yes.
Super A-list cat, like major hits, and he was like playing, and then I went over, and for some reason I was curious about the sound, and I played for a minute, and it was like 2-second delay.
Jesus.
And I called him out on it because it was just at that level. I was just as my boy. I was just like, "Yo, are you?" He's like, I'm just used to it." He wrote hit songs and played with like what felt to me like a second half, 2 second delay.
That's crazy.
Instead of just calling somebody and saying, "Yo, tech dude, can you come help me with my system because it feels weird when I play."
Damn.
I'm not gonna say this person's name because he is like super well known cat. And let's just say he was part of a team that was started in LA, moved to Atlanta, then they divided up. One person was on a show a few years. But anyway,
Gotcha.
I digress.
I know it is.
So anyway, I was just like, ooh. He was like, "Yeah, it's just I'm used to it working that way.
Jeez.
I'm just used to he called it delay."
Yeah.
Or a gap. He called it a gap or something. He's like, "I'm just used to that gap when I play."
Anything.
I'm like, oh my god.
30 milliseconds or over.
Yeah. I'm like in that about 12, 15. I get a little crazy.
Yeah.
But I'm okay though, because it's like, look, you can fix it.
Yeah, you can.
You know, I mean, not everybody's got an Apollo.
Hey, you can just slide the slider, man.
But yeah.
And I'll say, I mean, even too, going to the computer thing, make sure you got enough RAM and all that stuff too. Because I had 8 before, and it didn't run as smooth as 8.
You got the 16 now.
Man, like I said, I have no issues.
For any DAW, native DAW, especially live, it's always a very wise choice to have at least 15 gigabytes of RAM of just free space untouched. But if you've got a laptop, assuming you got a Mac, and you've got something that's built after 2015, you can sit at 512 in your buffer and be fine. Raise it up if you feel like you're crunching stuff.
I think now is a good time for me to give my computer specs that I usually give. At least the i7 processor, at least 16 gigs of RAM, and hard drive space to taste. But if you can, get an SSD in there somewhere. Yeah. I'm about to get it out the box.
Right. Okay, Chris Cooper says, well, I'm going to knock out two questions at once. Chris Cooper says, what is your biggest issue with Reason? And then Push Button says, Reason 10 is dope now. They allow VSTs, SSL, mixer emulation is top notch.
Yeah, the key word in there is now. While you do this, I'm going to run upstairs real quick.
That's my issue with Reason. Reason is a cool program, but, and this is Trezor speaking, the thoughts and opinions of Trezor does not reflect Oracle or Houston.
Yeah.
Okay?
Objects maybe appear larger.
Closer, you know?
Yeah.
But I just think, man, that was like years late, bro. Like, we all been on VSTs. So you've missed that wave, and now you want us to come back when you finally figured it out. It's like, we're well past that.
If I call the desert island syndrome. If I was just a weekend and someone said this is all you can use, is Reason. Whatever. What's the latest one? Reason 20 or something. Whatever. So it's like you can just use Reason. If I can have Reason on a screen that's like 20 feet wide, and so everything is big, I'm good. My problem was that microcosm thing.
Oh yeah.
It was. I always felt. And I never accomplished more than making these hip, cool 2-3 bar groups. But I don't really have a problem with Reason. I think it sounds good.
Oh, I hate it.
I know you do.
I hate it.
But my thing has always been like, it sounds good.
Oracle can't do like Dave Dash.
Damn, it's got a lot of oak barrel vintage.
This is Beats Music. Gave us this. That's what was in the decanter. Nice. So.
I don't have a problem with Reason. My problem is there's so much information there, so tiny. If it was a sort of thing like a knife to my throat, you've got to use Reason to make like beat the clock.
Right.
Okay, you've got 10 minutes to write a song, and you're gonna use we did this a few years ago where we had a panel. We were at South by Southwest, and we had these little cloths over gear. But people on the panel didn't know what they were getting ready to have to use. And they were listed up, and that person had 5 minutes to make a sound or make a song. So anyway, with Reason, I could probably get around a Reason and be okay. I would just have, like I said, I have to have like a movie screen size.
As long as you give me my NNX 16 or whatever.
I mean, there was a moment.
That's too much, man. You got to memorize.
There was a moment. I think Bill Clinton was in office or some shit. But there was a time when I was actually kind of into Reason. Like I was kind of enjoying it. But now it's just kind of phased out. I respect the company as well. They're really good guys.
Right.
And they're actually really close with the Ableton brass and the CEO. They're both really. Like all I'm saying is I wouldn't mind to see something happen down the road. You know what I'm saying? Like it'd be cool if we
that
could
would be good for them.
Because sometimes I wonder about companies like Propellerheads and Moog and like things are happening right now that are not good for a lot of companies. Like you have to wonder when you see Propellerheads, you're like, is it like what are those numbers? You know, like, is it okay? Is it no disrespect to the company itself, but I have to wonder sometimes. Like
I think they. I mean, not that company, but even like Guitar Center. I be looking at Guitar Center like,
how you
if
still
Toys R Us went out, y'all definitely might go out.
That's a fact.
I mean, they'll. Yeah, I think you'll see. The interesting thing is Atlanta Guitar Center. I only know this just because my background when I worked for the U.S. team and all this sales stuff. Is the GC Atlanta on 85 is the #1 traffic Guitar Center daily in the chain.
Oh, wow.
So at the end of the day, if suddenly the main one on 85.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, and 110 and 102, the one Manhattan and Los Angeles, Hollywood, and Atlanta. Then you got this one in Hallandale, Florida. So anyway, point being, if GC suddenly did the Toys R Us thing, the big box closure deal, you would still see a few around. But it's insane. They got way too big for their britches.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Damn you, Amazon.
But there's also one factor that overshadows everything. That's a company called Sweetwater.
Yes.
Sweetwater changed the game.
Oh yeah.
In the last decade, like once Sweetwater kicked in,
super smart.
I got my first. No, I want to say I got my first MPC from Sweetwater.
Sweetwater changed every retailer, and everybody just went bye bye.
I just go to Guitar Center.
Sam Ash's closed, Mom and Pop's closed.
I go to Guitar Center, try it out, and then I order off Amazon.
Like Best Buy.
Because you got your boy there, your girl, whatever. You go in, you have some chats, you walk around, playing some cymbals and shit, and you're
That's
just
what
like,
people
okay,
do at Best Buy.
See ya.
Yeah, the stores are for like if I really need it right now, and not tomorrow.
I need that banana. I need that banana L clip USB Thunderbolt Saturday at 6.
Yep.
Guitar Center, but do I need to go get my Mother 32? No.
Nope.
Exactly. IDK says, does it make a difference if you were to use the latency on the external instrument opposed to in the preference?
Ooh, external instrument is probably the most underappreciated device in live.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, especially an audio instrument or audio effect as well.
Yeah.
Or external audio effect. Those two, what that allows you to do is actually take your MIDI track and turn it into a hybrid audio MIDI track. With latency control,
Right.
your I/O settings and everything just occurs right there, and you can do some fantastic stuff with that.
As a fact.
So if you're bringing in a Moog, a Dave Smith, whatever you're doing, or external gear, your drum machine, into live, and you're experiencing some I/O latency, first of all, go to your preferences. Try to suss out your overall latency. Watch that tutorial. Go online. Figure that out. But then actually, absolutely create a device. I have tons of them for Moog. All these tutorials I've done with all the different hardware, that external instrument device is the first piece in a custom rack, and then I put a compressor after it or whatever. But it actually, the moment it turns your audio track into the MIDI and vice versa, I want to say it came out in Live 8, maybe Live 7.
I think it was 8.
It's to me, it's one of the most under the radar.
That's funny.
Plugins that we have in our software.
Right.
I started using
if that's your thing. Now a lot of people are in the box, but I'm assuming most of us have some type of even vocalist, guitarist, your third party gear. So that's my 2 cents on external instrument device. It's absolutely a must.
That's pretty smart. I started using it with we were looking at my MS1 earlier. I started using it with that, and that's what made me a believer. I was like, "Oh shit, this is awesome."
Black Noise says, basically he's asking about what recommendations for audio interfaces because his is having power issues.
Is he on Mac or PC?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah, are you Mac? Well, if it's a Mac or PC, for me, I don't go too crazy. I have a Focusrite 1820 over here.
Scarlett, right?
Yep. Yeah, so I got without counting the optical where you can expand it to 1,000,000 joints, I got 8 ins and 8 outs.
I like how you still have the plastic over the faceplate.
Oh, I just took my.
Are you one of those people?
Like
yeah,
I'm one of those people.
I just took my push plastic
Folks,
off.
he still has the little.
I don't think
that makes me crazy.
Until the plastic starts looking filmy and you can't see through it, I keep the plastic
That's
on.
funny.
I just took it off of
Did
my
your
push.
grandmother had every sofa covered with plastic?
No, she had enough to where I would go to sleep cool and wake up dying.
Sliding off.
So my 2 cents to that question really quickly is obviously budget comes into play, but if you're on a minimal budget, definitely Focusrite is your friend. You know, you've got a whole different line all the way from the little baby one all the way to whatever. Next, you can start looking into obviously the UA thing. Arrow's a really
That's what
Arrow. I think it's like $500 now, and it's USB-C, so you got to kind of up your game on your laptop. That's another great choice. But between RME, Focusrite, and I would say you start stepping out of that, you kind of getting into no man's land.
Right.
That's just my opinion. You know, I kind of mix around Focusrite, the Avid Omni is another piece that I use, and then the UA stuff. But
I know a lot of Mac guys. A lot of people are Apollo and all that stuff. See, I'm a PC guy.
Once you go Apollo, where's the horn, man?
Oh, what the? Oh man, we done switched over, bro.
I guess that's a good thing. That means that you're like doing tons of questions. We forgot all about the horn.
We're doing different.
You got to give a shout out to Apollo and UA.
There we go.
Hey,
dude, that was the most anticlimactic thing ever. No, UA, they nailed the second V2. Now, we just went from Focusrite $300 to $1,800, $2,200. But point being, I don't know how many. Well, I don't want to say that, but it's like the experience of walking into a tuned, well-crafted studio, and those focals or those Genelecs get cranked up, and it's running through an Apollo Blackface V2, and someone plays a multi-track. That's when you become an Apollo fan. You're like, oh, okay.
It's a difference.
I see. Thank you.
Guitar Center on I-85 stays packed. I saw 2 Chainz in that same Guitar Center. Yeah,
dude,
it's like
that place. it was. I saw some numbers years ago or something where it was like some crazy shit. Like
Brian might catch fire right now.
People a day on a Saturday. It's like 6,000 people a day on a Saturday or something crazy.
I think the last time I seen Young Jock, Jazzy Faye,
yeah,
and Drummer Boy all within like 5 minutes.
But also too, this is what's funny. You'll see some A-list stuff like that, some cool kind of like what's up. But there's always that one dude, and with that girlfriend, the sad girlfriend, that's at the front counter, bringing some shit in.
Oh yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like a guitar without a case, or a broken ass Alan Heath mixer or some shit.
Right.
And you feel sad. You're just like you know there's some drama going on over there. Because you see him like talking to the manager, and you're like, dude, you're not returning that shit. And everybody else is just overlooking the gear, but there's just that they won't even let him in the store.
Damn, like, you got to negotiate.
I love that shit. The dynamic of like guitar, that front desk area. You ever been around when someone's bolted out of a music store?
No.
Maybe some viewers have been there. I've been in a couple situations where someone straight up like puts a bass. I was at a store in Nashville.
Guitar?
A store in Nashville. Someone
You
was
trying to dip?
Someone was dipping with they figured it out and they caught him out on the street and brought him back in. And I was at a Guitar Center in Sherman Oaks, somewhere in LA.
Wow.
And someone bolted with like a bunch of Pro Tools shit. Like just ran out the door. And everybody goes on lockdown and shit. It was crazy.
That's crazy.
Music stores are crazy.
You gangster for that.
With the whole drum set, you over there dragging drumsticks falling out your jeans.
No, this dude straight up put. It was a guy and his girlfriend or his wife or whatever. They were a team. They were pros.
Oh damn!
And he literally had the bass guitar down his pants, like down where he could walk.
That's the
because we were all there when they came back in. Right. They like brought the dude back in, and he was like, and he had to bring it out. It was just like.
It's like a car stealing. Still on the stick for the supermarket.
You didn't think you hear on a Friday afternoon on the podcast?
Oh, right. Damn. Hilarious.
The Black Barrel. Busy Beats.
Oh, yeah.
Well done, sir.
Oh, yeah. Shout out to Beats Music.
Yes, indeed. That Black Barrel's amazing.
So, yeah. Black Noise, his interface is going out. He says if he moves the power to the left, but it's that time. It's that time. You gotta duct tape it and hold it there. Yeah. It's that time to let it go.
The only those can be good times in a way, like life experience sort of. But at some point, you're gonna turn that shit on, and it's not gonna be a good time.
Yeah.
Like, okay, we ready to record? Oh man, I don't know what's going on. Vocalists that I just hired from.
I don't usually brand bash. I'm a bash a brand of interface right here. The only brand you do not go with is Behringer.
Oh, yeah,
do not go with
that's a lot of stuff.
But the crazy thing is Behringer, there was one interface that they made that I actually liked. And I'm gonna tell you why you don't go with them. It blew out on me 3 times. I like this interface so much that I got 3 of them. All of them blew out. The power.
They mean well.
They do. They're trying to be.
There's legacy Behringer, and then there's this whole new like
bottom barrel shit,
Chinese built mini mode shit or whatever. But yeah, don't get me started on Behringer. I'm not even gonna.
The Fireface, whatever the hell it was. It was essentially this in a Behringer.
That was their thing.
It was the shit. But yo, first one, power blew out. They sent me another one after 89 weeks. Power blew out. I bought another one. Sent that one back. Same shit. I'm like, listen.
You got to figure if you're spending $75 on an interface, that's cloning one that costs $800. That's like that's the Behringer.
Yeah.
That's the Behringer. If I saw Uli Behringer right now on the sidewalk, I would just be like,
I think he's about to blow up on me because that's what else other shit does.
Yo, can you please just take the names off of this shit?
I think I paid like $200 for each one. I'm like, for that $600, I could have just bought them.
Remember they cloned the Mackie speakers, the 824s?
Oh, yeah.
They were called Truths.
Yeah.
And they copied the design, the color, and everything. And the speaker cones were falling out of them, and people were like posting that shit.
I hated those joints, man.
Damn, Behringer, get your shit together.
Except just do your own thing. Like, please.
I hated those. All Behringer speakers I hate because they're like really harsh. They're like got that super.
They turned a corner a little bit because they partnered with Midas years ago and started this whole thing with the Model D, all that clone synth bullshit.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And it's working so far. Apparently, none of it's like falling apart.
I'm done with that. Like you said, the legacy shit is cool. I have a old Euro rack that I'm sure if I brush that off, it'll work like that. But
it's like ADAT There's some shit that you just don't allow. You just don't allow it in your studio.
Can't do it.
Can't do it.
Nice.
Yeah, we banned ADATs back in the day at Tree Sound, man. Like if you had ADATs, you had to go somewhere else. We sent people to Exoset to transfer.
Damn.
Because we felt weird about even having ADATs in our building.
Should've.
So
That's real.
yeah, that was how real shit was. The 88s were cool, Tascams, but no ADATs.
I'm thinking about getting a Focusrite because at the live show, my interface, my duet went out. Now, my duet is old as hell. I had my duet since 2012.
Wow, yeah. Ain't nothing wrong with some apogee.
Yeah. But it just went out during the
That
live
was the
show.
other one I meant to mention a minute ago. And the other one I meant to mention, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you did.
The apogee was don't play down anything from PreSonus. PreSonus is good stuff, man.
I keep hearing about that.
Those are very affordable. Give you a whole bunch of robust ins and outs and spiff and whatnot. But if you wanna kind of go up, look at the apogee too. That's
I'm either gonna get the Arrow or I'm gonna get a Focusrite. That's kind of where I'm.
You have an Arrow, right? Didn't you say you had an Arrow?
No, I had a duet. My duet is.
Oh, you were thinking about the Arrow.
Yeah, I'm
I mean, Arrow, you just got 2 ins and outs.
See, I come for the duet, so that's all I had.
That's all you need. 2 ins, 2 outs.
Exactly.
So yeah, you can go Focusrite 2i2 or Arrow. Either way, I got a 2i2 on the back. That's my travel joint.
It's really interesting, man. Like I kind of look at it like the environment has to be right to A and B and do the bullet test sort of thing. But you can take the new Twin series, Apollo Twin, Mark II, take the RME Fireface, take the PreSonus 8 quad, like all those, and you play all those different interfaces with the same material and just blindfold test type thing. You can hear how much $700 is going to get you over.
Oh yeah,
$200 or $300.
I'm sure.
Now, granted, that's very viable. Like, this is what I got.
Right, exactly.
This is what I have. This is all I can spend. So, but the other thing that I'll say is, in 2018, it's a good time to be like having to struggle with interfaces. You know what I mean? If that makes sense.
Yeah,
it's like
good.
we're in a good place right now to make music. If you can't make music today or record some audio, you just
something's wrong.
Just kind of go back to school or something.
It's price points out there for you.
Yeah.
I went with the lower one because after losing 3 interfaces
at some point, it seemed like we would have figured that out. I just have to say, I'm not busting your balls.
I love the model so
number
much.
2.5 is like, I need fuck marriage.
And you know what?
It's like, no, I'm gonna just one more.
It gave me all the ins and outs I want, and the software. Like for instance, with some of the Scarlett shit, you can't like monitor system audio and record it into your DAW. Right. The Behringer shit was set up so that you could automatically do it without creating like a crazy loop or having fancy software, and that was
it had the thing. It had the thing you want. Okay,
it was perfect. And nothing else has.
I'm just saying, it should start bursting into flame or just breaking. I'm just like, I just
wait,
the
first one?
It has that thing. It's some because I've had gear like that too.
Yeah,
I've gone down to like certain way mod wheels feel, and pitch benders, or the action of a keyboard.
My third one of these.
Yeah, like forever. All I would recommend at the session was like I'd hire in the DX7 FD. For a while, because that was the only keyboard that I felt like I could do what I needed to do when I got there. The FD. It was the DX7 II FD. It had this action that was like phenomenal. And that's how I feel about the new Complete Control Mark II, which is right over there. Whatever they did on that action of that keyboard and the way it responds and the way it interfaces with your DAW, it's the best thing I bought in years.
It's cool. You know, I just started using that when we got here. I just set it up. It's usually on this table. Shout out to Native Instruments because they sent me
Carmen Rizzo, everybody. It's like it's my favorite purchase. It's my favorite thing I bought in years. Like it changed, and I pushed right on top of it.
I feel bad though because they sent it to me like 6 months ago, and I just started. I tried it for a day.
I know it's like 30 feet away from me. It's pretty obvious.
It's usually here though. Now within the last week, but because I was using this. Which is a Control 49. It's but I like the VIP software.
Yeah,
but
that Mark 1 or that Mark 2, man.
Yeah, it's
the way it works with live. It's like have you used it with live yet?
Or what?
Oh, he hates native instruments.
Well, I have a
that
grudge.
controller. Those two, the Windows, it runs mixing, punching in, recording, scenes, launching,
and
clips.
machine.
Everything runs from that. Like the integration with Ableton Live on that.
Yeah.
They told me
And the fact, and I had push right on top.
Oh yeah, he done.
They told me they were gonna send me one and they didn't. So now I'm like, I'm good. I don't want
Carmen's douching on you, man.
They sent me an MK3 and
They sent him
Mark II.
one, but didn't send me one.
They sent me that, and they didn't send him anything. So
now I'm kind of like, I'm good. I don't even want you. I don't want your business.
Well, okay.
That's how I am now. I'm like,
Okay.
you know how. You know, you see them guys in New York, and they be like, "Oh, excuse me, Ma, you fine." And then she be like, "No," you be like, "Forget you anyway."
Yeah.
That's me right now. That's me.
Right.
they told him he was
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They try to act like I wasn't popping. That's all.
All right. I guess you got to still use that Oxygenate in audio then.
Yeah,
Right.
wow, oxygen. But he went in on Boris's outfit maybe a little too.
Yeah, that's probably what it was. I did kind of roasted Boris a little bit.
Okay.
Made Boris famous, man.
I love that keyboard, man.
Apparently Boris was already a little bit famous too. We didn't know that before we went in on him. He's kind of popping up.
But that's
what was
my,
he famous for though?
Yeah.
DJing.
I was gonna say dressing green, but okay.
But I just it's for me as a session player and growing up as a session player as a keyboardist, it's like little things. The height of the producer desk, you know, the way the chair or whatever, and I would have to always try to like bite my tongue when I go into a room and it'd be like some janky ass audio controller on a desk that's this tall, and I'm sitting there at Stankonia or whatever, and I'm like, yo. Is this how
that position enough?
Yeah, T-Rex. We call it T-Rex. So it's just like Tyrannosaurus Rex. It's like, yo, you guys got a bar stool or something? If you want me to do this part, we need to do it.
Right.
It's like, oh, we get you a Moog or something. I was like, no, man,
just put it at a
I mean, I'm talking janky shit.
Right.
It's funny. It's like you went to the gear closet and got some old stuff from a tour. Like some old thing that was thrown away, some rolling like.
Damn.
Will this work for you? It's like, no, because the pitch bender's broken off. Like, there's nothing.
Right.
I've been there. I'm telling you. Like, doing little.
I'm all about the pitch bend. Do you like side to side pitch bending or
That's a bender.
like
the bender and wheels.
the wheel? I like wheels. That's why.
Either way. At the end of the day, it's like I prefer a bender because I kind of grew up with that because of rolling and chord. You know, the M1s and all the Alpha Finos and stuff. But I'll take a wheel. I'm used to the wheel now because I have to because I use. But I have a System 8, which I love, which is to the left, the rolling, and that's got the thing.
See, my Novation has the thing, and it's cool, but I like the wheel more. But I use it. I'm weird because I use it for cutting.
Like I'm doing. Everyone's different.
Yeah.
Like
but
when
it's
I sit
crazy.
down and I'm doing
muscle
funky
memory.
bass lines and doing the Moog stuff or whatever. It's like I gotta kind of. But it's a different way of thinking. That's always been an interesting sort of paradigm for discussion too. It's like what people prefer on the modulation wheel.
You know what I find is crazy? People that have a serious preference about one are usually great using both. But that's the reason why you're like, nah, I'm a wheel guy or I'm a side to side guy. But those people can use anything.
I just grew up on that, the rolling kind of.
Oh yeah,
You know what I mean? So
They just did it. They just did. I want to say they did it. It was the Roland It was right after. It was the Roland JX 8P, and then they refined it on the D50. But before that, they had wheels too, like going back to early like 79 to 80. So when the Juno, when the JX 3P came out in 1981, they had the bender. But it was this thick black. It was kind of a new concept. So it was like a big gear shifter looking thing. But then they refined it, and then Korg did it. Korg started doing it on their M1. And we're going down synth anatomy now.
Yeah. I was on
that's
M3.
my thing, though.
That's my side.
We'll be talking about synthesizers, but
IDK Jr. said, "What's the relationship with Novation and Ableton? Novation controllers run seamlessly with Ableton."
Oh man,
that partnership's been around forever.
Yeah.
The developers at Focusrite, I call it Focusrite, it's still Novation, but over in England, they've always, ever since the Launchpad partnership, which was years ago, right after the APC Akai partnership, that communication with the original Launchpad sort of started that whole relationship. So it's all scripting, and you can certainly talk more about that, but the scripting and development is just super hand in hand.
Man.
And there's most companies are pretty much locked in with live now. We're in 2018, but that's really what it is. It's like getting that community. We have a whole team that works with us too. It's called our OEM partnership division.
Right.
And so they work with Korg on Gadget, and they work with Novation on the Circuit Mono or whatever. Whatever's happening. Dave Smith on NKP MIDI code. So yeah, that's probably the tightest. Akai is probably a close second because of that partnership that we have with Akai, and that's why that is that way. Like all that mapping stuff. There's been a few products that have been a little weird.
Yeah, Novation worked. Even though their Automat was a little, it was a little janky.
That gets a little. That you'd have to really have it set up perfectly, and then don't breathe.
But it worked well with live. And the first Trinity does the AI thing I developed. That was done on the Novation with the Automat, but I just took the Automap out of it. Yeah. But I still use the Novation board, just
the
like
SL series.
Oh, the SL2. I have
right
3 of those.
Close to my heart, man.
Yes.
It's like it's just
I Behringered that. I had a couple of them where the keys went out.
Don't say that.
And I just kept buying them.
Behringered that.
I did.
What was the piece?
The key. A couple keys would go out on the earlier models.
Their rip off of the.
No, it wasn't a rip off, but I'm saying like I bought the SL remotes. Yeah. And then like a couple keys will go out, and I'll just buy another one. And then a couple keys will go out on that. Like 3 years later, I'll just buy another one.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, the SL remote.
Creature of habit.
Great keyboard.
Yeah.
Awareness that y'all fancy. I use my laptop aux in.
That's okay, man.
Hey, listen.
Airport mode, airplane. Yep. Do your thing, man. It's all good. But when you do step out of controller land, and when you do step out in interface land. It's a new world.
It's definitely a difference because that AirPod, I got this mad delay, bro. That's how you was talking about there. Yeah, I press play and it just like.
No, it's.
I was like, shit.
It's like Bose sound boom box or like. I mean, yeah, it's the same. You're doing the same thing.
Exactly.
But if we could get to that point to where it is seamless,
man, I can't wait. I can't wait.
It's over.
That'd be awesome.
It's over. Link, check out Link. Tell me.
Yeah, to me that's one of the top selling points of Ableton too. It's like that's so.
We
great.
should do a Link thing one day to where we're all. Like this table is perfect, where you just think this little X, and we're all facing each other, and you kind of come up with a basic concept. Someone leads off with a metronome, and we just start. Because what's crazy is you can go into your own little world with a cue out.
Yeah.
So I can be kind of working on some tones and doing whatever. You could be working on the beat. You could be working on something else, and then whenever you want, you just kind of like turn your cue down, bring your fader up. It's like, and then you see what's funny is you see the person you're working with. I've seen this in larger groups too, and you see people do this. They're like, "Who is that? Dude, that's dope. Is that record it? And you realize that everyone is in sync on one computer, but they're all on their own computer.
I saw that at Loop. Remember they had those rooms. I took one of my most iconic pictures in front of like that a table full of equipment.
That's crazy.
That's one of those rooms.
Yeah. Oh, the one Sammy was running. Yeah. That room. Yeah.
Diego says I don't use Link because the co-producer would just keep stopping to ask me what plugin I was using. Link is a tool for swagger jackers. Shout out to my boy Diego, man.
Just didn't stop with your shit.
That is so good. I want that quote. I want to send that quote to like. I love sending that kind of stuff to like the Berlin team.
Nice.
I would screen. Hold on. How do you screenshot?
Swagger jacker. Is that what he said?
I don't know how you screenshot on the Android.
Hold on.
Just. There you go.
That was a great comment.
Shout out to young Diego app, man. Get that ultimate.
The person that's if you spend most of your time asking what someone's using a plugin, rethink. Just rethink the direction. That's the same person that's always wanting to get like hack your drive.
Short, but you know yours is the quick, so you got 10 seconds.
Okay, real quick. XO2 SoundOracle.net Independence Day sale still going on until Sunday.
Hey, Independence Day sale, same thing. Houston.
Have a good weekend. Houston.Singletary, Instagram.
Hey.
All right, they kicked us off.
You out there on Instagram. YouTube, we still here. And, yeah, I guess the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
4th of July sale.
Yeah. Oh, we signing off?
Yeah, we're signing off.
4th of July sale, you got XO2?
XO2, SoundOracle.net. 4th of July sale, SoundOracle.net also.
4th of July sale, producer kit, Houston.
Cool. Anybody wants to chat with me about Ableton, you need some lessons, hit me on Instagram, Houston.Singletary. You can also find it off these guys' Instagram. give me a
That's
shout.
There you go.
Talk all things Ableton.
Appreciate you guys.